I'm 1000. On my channel, I created a series of videos where I made my own version of the world-famous painting, The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. Now on the surface, it's just a bunch of videos of me going through the process of making the art. But beneath the surface, the series is an elaborate ARG and online treasure hunt filled with riddles, codes, and clues. And in this video, by popular demand, I'm gonna reveal all those secrets and give all the answers and completely break down this ARG. While the game was going on, there was a small but dedicated group of online detectives trying to crack my code, and in the end, the final detective who figured it all out would win my version of The Last Supper, like the actual painting. Up until now, only those few dedicated detectives really knew what any of this was all about. But with this video, that's gonna change. Now, this video is absolutely going to completely spoil every part of this game in every way, so spoiler warning for sure. And as a side note, it'll also spoil the jigsaw puzzle version of my painting that's available on my website. Because in that puzzle, there's like a diet light version of this game in there too. So you've been warned, spoiler warning. I've also included chapters for this video down in the description so you can easily navigate to the section you want. Also, there's a playlist to all the original videos in the Last Supper series. If you wanted to watch one video, see what clues jump out at you, then watch the breakdown. You can bounce back and forth like that. That's probably the most interactive way to do it. Or you can just watch this video. But chapters and the playlist to the original videos are down in the description. And now, without further ado, 1000's The Last Supper ARG, all secrets revealed, in-depth analysis, tell-all, heavy spoilers, ending explained, review. Let's begin. Oh, wait a second. In my script here, it just says Squarespace in all capital letters. Oh yeah, I forgot about this part. This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is a website where you can build a website. I personally have been using Squarespace for years and years. I love it because it's super freaking easy. Now, as you watch this in-depth analysis, you're gonna see that I created an absolute metric ton of secret pages on my website that are password protected. And because I did that on Squarespace, it was super easy. Squarespace has these award-winning templates where all you gotta do is drop your awesome content into their beautiful templates and boom, you got yourself a website. Their list of amazing features is epically long, like everything that I want my website to do. I look on Squarespace, and yeah, Squarespace does that. And like I said, it's easy. If I can build a website, you can certainly build a website. But if you do run into any issues, they have 24/7 customer support. They've definitely helped me out. They can help you out too. So what are you waiting for? Go to squarespace.com to start your free trial. And when you're ready to launch your site, go to squarespace.com/1000 for 10% off the first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you, Squarespace. Okay, now let's begin.
The Last Supper Part 1.
Today, we're gonna be doing a deep dive into Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. Our journey begins here, but in video 1, there are no codes and there are no clues and there is no game at all yet. This video is an in-depth look at Leonardo's original painting. At this point, all I was thinking is that it would be fun to make a recreation of The Last Supper. I am going to recreate The Last Supper in my own style. And what better way to start this whole project off than to take some time and really do a ton of research. Your boy Bartholomew got flayed alive for converting the king of Armenia to Christianity or something. He's actually the saint of leather makers because of his flayed skin. Seems kind of messed up. Judas is also supposedly tipping over the salt. This may be related to the expression betray the salt, which means like betray your master. But I have seen like people being superstitious about like when you knock over the salt at the table and you're like, ooh, and you have to like throw it over your shoulder or something. So maybe this is where that came from. Leonardo actually did a self-portrait of himself as Jude. The recurring use of the number 3. All of the 12 disciples are in small groups of 3. There's 3 big windows in the background of the painting, and your boy Jesus looks like a straight up triangle. Listen, going into this, I actually thought I was gonna do a version of The Last Supper where all the characters were art YouTubers. Should I do the 12 disciples as like popular art YouTubers? But when I mentioned it in the video, a lot of you folks in the comments told me my idea was lame. Actually, a lot of you told me that I should just do it in my style. So while you dissed me for my lame idea, you simultaneously pumped me up by saying you would just enjoy my style. So thank you. So here's the thing about video 1. The most important part about this video is all the research I did into the many conspiracy theories and hidden messages that are believed to be in Leonardo's original painting. This was the spark that ignited my imagination and became the inspiration to make this whole mysterious game filled with codes and hidden messages. Oh wait, I also said this. Maybe when I make my version of The Last Supper, I'll hide the sheet music for Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up, so that every time you look at my painting, you'll be subconsciously getting rickrolled. Which will come into play later. But the game actually starts in video 2, so let's move on.
The Last Supper Part 2.
Now, I have a new idea. You see, I'd like to play a little game. In this series of videos, and in the actual painting itself, I've painstakingly hidden a series of codes, riddles, and challenges. You'll need to pay very close attention to every detail and look beneath the surface to find the answers. You may want to come together as a community to solve every code. So, happy hunting. The game starts now.
I knew the big overarching question for the whole game was who betrayed the heron. Figuring that out was the ultimate goal of this game. Anyway, the first point I want to draw your attention to is right here. You guys definitely go over to Austin's channel. It's called Red Bud Builds. He's making all kinds of sweet videos. Did you catch that? Right there underneath Red Bud, there's a small little link. This bit.ly link takes detectives to a Wikipedia page on EXIF metadata, and this is a big hint for the detectives about what they're about to have to do as they crack codes later in this video. Right, I just wanted to touch on that because we're going to jump down our first major rabbit hole, and it starts at this part right here.
Usually when I build stuff, it's only 5% janky, so I'll make it 5% better.
Now, I think whether you're a detective or not, you probably caught that one. My videos are at 24 frames per second, and although it only appeared for one frame, we really went blatant with that one. If you pause the video at the exact right moment, you'll see that this is an editor's log. It's written from the perspective of Nick, my fearless editor, also my collaborator on this game, and Nick said, maybe you should read this part.
Editor's log. Hello YouTube. This is my first week video editing, and I'm picking things up quickly. I started out working in Tenhud's shipping warehouse. I guess he thought I was a pretty cool dude, because he is now training me on editing. I hope to progress to the level of the masters soon, so I can dethrone the kings of YouTube and take it for myself. But I may be getting a little ahead of myself. I will keep you updated on my progress, but I must go for now as Tenhun is coming. Nick.
This little gimmick of hiding an editor's log is something that's going to pop up in almost every video in this series. And while this editor's log itself doesn't really contain any clues, there is more to this single frame of video than meets the eye. In the lower right hand corner, there's some bright green text that says Terre croissant rib grasses high 10. This seems like complete nonsense, but it's actually an anagram for raise contrast and raise brightness. Once you figure out that anagram, you can take this single frame, raise the brightness, and all of a sudden a line of text becomes visible on the air duct behind me. And the message reads, "The game begins here, no secrets dwell in the past." Which is basically telling the detectives, hey, there's no codes in The Last Supper Part 1, so don't waste your time looking there. And then after that little cryptic message, you see a link. And this link leads to an unlisted video. Now this particular rib grasses high 10 anagram seemed to give the detectives a lot of trouble. After I released the video, I was lurking on Reddit and I was lurking on the Patreon Discord where the detectives were like discussing clues and stuff, and I noticed they were having a really hard time with this one. So later, I slapped together this video where I spelled things out, like quite literally. The video was called Thin, T-H-I-N, which is an anagram for hint, which the fact that that is an anagram for hint is a hint in and of itself. And in this video, I slowly type out rib grasses high 10 on my keyboard, which again is an anagram for raise brightness. And then I pause for a bit and you slowly see me type out R-A-I-S, and then I almost hit the E key before the video glitches out. Basically, I'm giving them the first word in the anagram to try and help them on their way and to make them somehow discover that this one single frame with the editor's log holds more secrets than immediately meet the eye. Anyway, back to that link we found hiding on the air duct. Following that link will take you to an unlisted video titled Cardinal on Video. another anagram. Cardinal on video is an anagram for Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, when you watch this video, you gotta have closed captioning turned on. Slowly throughout this video, the captions read, listen carefully, look closely, you are on the right path. And then it says, obviously, the heron did not betray himself. Cool, so now the detectives know the heron didn't betray himself. Duh, that would be weird if this whole game came down to the heron betraying himself. Also in this unlisted video, if you listen underneath the music, you can hear a faint beeping. Like a telegraph transmitting. This is Morse code, and the Morse code translates to, the narwhal is a red herring. He did not betray the heron. So in this unlisted video, we found out that the heron didn't betray himself, and now we have found out that the narwhal is innocent. He did not betray the heron. This is an important unlisted video, sheesh. The next clue in this video is that for a single frame in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you can faintly see a link, twitter.com/cardinal on video. This link leads you to a secret Twitter page, and this account was like the account associated with this ARG where I could deliver more hints or rile up the detectives or whatever. It'll definitely come into play later in this game. And finally, in this clue-laden unlisted video, within the description of the video, you'll find a few different items of interest. First is the link 1000art.com/cardinal on video. And this link brings you to a password protected page of which you do not know the password yet. And also in the description, there's 2 riddles which say, pronounced as 1 letter and written with 3, 2 letters there are, and 2 only in me. I'm double, I'm single, I'm black, blue, and gray, I'm red from both ends, and the same either way. The next riddle says 1, and then you have to input the answer from riddle 1. So 1 blank resides on my peak. I have a mask I can hide beneath. You must mine deep to find my shape. My power is wisdom with a smile on my face. And then a note that just says all lowercase. Now I'll pause for 5 seconds here if you want to pause the video and try and take a stab at these riddles. 3, pause it, 2, 1. Okay, we're back. Okay, before I give you the answer to the riddles, let's quickly shoot back to the main video of The Last Supper Part 2 because there's another hint for the detectives there that helps with this part. At 6 minutes and 1 seconds in this video, there's this long string of code, 416E73776572, so on and so on and so on. This is a message encoded in hexadecimal. Once decoded, this message reads as, answer the riddles to get the password. Okay, answer the riddles to get the password. We have a page where we need the password. We have riddles. If we answer those riddles, we get the password. Okay, back to the riddles. Did you guys get the answers for them? The answer to the first riddle is I. And then when you put I into that second riddle, this is a riddle where the answer is Watcher. And the Watcher is one of my classic characters. So this riddle actually has to do with one of my characters as an artist, as 1000. So we kind of made this riddle up, and you kind of have to be a fan of my art to be able to answer this one. So if the answer to that riddle is Watcher, then that means all lowercase, which was the note we saw before, Watcher is the password to that password protected page. And when you enter that password, you see a link titled Seek and Ye Shall Find. When you click that link, it opens a new window featuring the concept art. If you happen to save this image, you will notice that the file name is A=H.jpg. This is important information because of that EXIF metadata hint we gave earlier with the Wikipedia page. When you inspect the metadata, you'll find a long random code of gibberish. This code is actually base 64. When you convert that base 64 into text, you get what looks like more gibberish. But that gibberish happens to be a Caesar cipher, in which the letter A equals H. So if you shift the whole alphabet where A equals H, you get the actual message, which is, congratulations, detective, you are on the right path and your head is on straight. Keep digging deep to find the answers that lie beneath. This time, history will not repeat itself. The eel did not betray the heron. History will not repeat itself. Basically, in the original painting, you got Judas. And Judas, in the original painting, betrayed Jesus Christ. In the position of Judas, is the eel. So when we say history will not repeat itself, we're saying the eel is innocent this time, even though he's taking the place of Judas. We're telling a different story than the original. All right, so far we know the heron didn't betray himself. Duh. We know the narwhal didn't betray the heron. And now we know that the eel didn't betray the heron either. So the detectives had to find the editor's log, solve the anagram, raise the brightness on that one single frame so they could find the link to the unlisted video, turn on the captions on that video and read the clue, solve the Morse code in there, solve the riddles in the description so that they could get the password for the secret web page where they could download the image. Notice that the file name was A=H. Remember the EXIF metadata clue and inspect that, where they would find base 64 that they had to convert. Then they had to take that and use a Caesar cipher with A=H to finally reveal that the eel was not guilty. Whew. All right, now that that rabbit hole has been fully fleshed out, let's shoot back to Last Supper Part 2. The next message detectives may notice is at 7 minutes and 47 seconds. You can kind of hear something weird. That's some good old-fashioned reversed audio, and once you put it back to normal, you can hear this.
Genesis 2:19.
If you didn't catch that, it says Genesis 2:19.
Genesis 2:19.
And if you look up that verse in the Bible, it says, "And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof." This is yet another cryptic clue to let the detectives know that all the dinner guests would be given a name, and that their name would hold significance within the bounds of discovering who betrayed the heron. Also naming each actual animal, such as, like their species like bull or eel or heron, would also come into play. So much like Adam, the detectives would need to name the animals. That will certainly come into play later. And finally, the last clue in The Last Supper Part 2 comes in the last frame. We see some text appear on screen saying, "Do both knife." This is yet another anagram. And this anagram translates to "find the book." I'm just gonna tell you to keep that in mind for now. I'm not gonna fully explain that. It's gonna come into play later. As this was the first video where we were hiding clues and codes, we were still getting our feet wet and trying to figure out how to even make something like this work. As you dive into this breakdown with me, you'll see that in the early videos, we used a lot of pre-existing codes and some tactics that you may be familiar with if you're into ARGs, but as the video series progressed, we really started making up our codes from scratch and trying to do more visual puzzles, since both the artwork and the video series are very visual platforms. It did get more and more difficult to make this game as it went on, but also it was a lot more rewarding as we were inventing our own new puzzles.
The rough sketch.
So because the detectives entered the password Watcher into the secret web page, they got a high-res version of the concept art. This is the concept as it stood at the end of episode 2. So let's go over the hidden secrets in this early version of the sketch. As you can see, all 13 characters in the painting are somewhat complete. As I alluded to with the verse from Genesis 2:19, we need to name all the animals. The detectives figured this out relatively quickly, but they had trouble determining exactly what the animals were. Moving from left to right, we have a bull, then an eagle, then a narwhal, then eel, antelope, tiger. Then in the center we have the heron, then a baboon, a rabbit, aardvark, newt, cardinal, then hammerhead. If you take the first letter from each animal from left to right, you get beneath branch. Keep beneath branch in mind. This will play a big role in the game coming up. The detectives really had to play around with this one because they thought this guy was a cow maybe, and this one was a bird. They thought this guy was a frog or a lizard, and this one they just had written down shark and not the specific of a hammerhead. But through some trial and error, they got the animal names correct and figured out beneath branch. What to do with that information, they did not know. So over here on the left, on the bull, we see a shovel next to an American flag, signifying the detectives may have to dig in the United States to find a later clue. We see a flyer for Cicada 3301, a very famous online mystery that influenced this game. You may also note in this image that the bull is holding a piece of sheet music. Congratulations, you've officially been rickrolled. That sheet music for Rick Astley is never going to give you up. See, I told you that was going to be important later. We see a knife cutting the bull's hand, which is a nod to the fact that the bull represents the Apostle Bartholomew, who is said to be flayed alive. There's a 23 here, which is a half-complete code that will be completed in the next video. There's an owl statue. This is a nod to the mystery puzzle book On the Trail of the Golden Owl. The original French title is Sur la trace de la Chute d'Or. Sorry, French people. Which you can see partially written on the base of the statue. The author was Régis Auzeux, but he used the pen name of Max Valentine, which is why you see the MV initials here. In the book, there was a series of codes that readers would solve to lead to the real-life location of a buried golden owl statue, which was supposed to be worth 150,000 euros in 1993 money. Original paintings were created for the book, so this was right up my alley, and this was another nod to games like this and the passionate creators who designed them and the detectives who solved them. Here we have a bottle of pills on the table. Could be a point of interest. Could be a misdirection. The narwhal is holding a herring, which will later be painted red, reminding detectives not to be led astray by red herrings. The tiger has a necklace with a US 10 highway emblem. This is a road that passes through a certain town in Michigan, which will come into play later. She also has a map of Michigan tucked behind her right arm. The heron has Matt 77 on his sleeve, which is a reference to Matthew 7:7 from the Bible, which reads, "Ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened to you." A portion of this verse will be a key to open a locked secret in a later puzzle. He has a 3 on his shoulder, which represents the Holy Trinity, but also will play a part in a code later. The flame above his head is relating to the biblical story of when the Holy Spirit came down and appeared as flames above the heads of the disciples, as noted in Acts 2:3. The triangle and 3-pointed crown is another nod to the Holy Trinity, as this heron character takes the place of the original Jesus Christ from the original Last Supper. The newt has newt tattooed on his neck because I knew this animal was going to be really hard for the detectives to figure out, so I spelled it out. He's also holding a newt. The cardinal is holding a paintbrush. This is a nod to Leonardo da Vinci because this character in the original painting is reported to be a self-portrait that Leo did. Also, the cardinal is holding an axe, which is a strange item to bring to a dinner party. And yeah, this sketch took a very long time because I had to think about the storyline of the underlying mystery. I had to come up with codes and also plan ahead enough to implement them and also, make a cool piece of art. But this is the sketch at the end of video 2, and the detectives were analyzing every square inch of this thing to solve the case. For you casual viewers, you might think this whole thing is insanely convoluted and way too difficult, but the online detectives had figured out all the codes within about 48 hours.
The Last Supper Part 3.
This video gets right into it with a lot of hidden clues right in the intro. As I'm talking, you'll notice there's a chessboard sitting on my desk. As the video progresses, you can see the white queen start to jump around the table to different tiles. If you take the chessboard and place a letter of the alphabet on each tile, starting with A equals A6, B equals B6, C equals C6, and so on, as the queen jumps around to the different tiles, it spells out the phrase, "View the sound," which is a clue to detectives that figuring out a way to view sound will play a role in finding a new piece of information. Also during this intro, as I talk, glitches start to cover up some of the words I'm saying. Listening to my this whole thing is in a thick layer of mystery. The missing words that the glitches are covering up are pan, sizzling in the frying, tone, listening to my coded, whole thing is in a thick layer of mystery. Add, anyone can jump on the subreddit and their own theories, numbers, but at this point it's a game, and together. More big brains working on this thing, the better. Put those together, you got Pantone coded add numbers together. This clues in the detectives that they will need to find certain Pantones and add the digits of their Pantone number together in order to solve a code that will appear later. I also tug on my ear each time I say one of these words, which is a nod to the Carol Burnett show, where at the end of each episode she would tug her ear as a secret message she worked out with her grandma who raised her. Her little ear tug at the end of the show meant,
And I said, Nanny, I'll pull my ear for you. And I did that ever since. Every time I was on TV, I'd find a place to do this when I was on camera so that she would know I was thinking of her.
which is probably the sweetest secret code ever. Anyway, you should also probably take note at the music playing in the background at the very beginning of the video.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Do you recognize that classical music piece? It's a subtle hint towards a later puzzle. Alright, the next clue arrives later in the video in the background of the shot. On the shelf behind me is a clock set to 12 with the letter A on it. This is a key to a clock code that appears later in the video. This lets the detectives know that 12 equals A. Also, a bit later in the video, the clock in the background is set to 4:16 with the letter Q visible on the clock. This is yet another key to how the clock code works. They now know that 12 equals A and 4:16 equals Q. So now that they have a bit of a hint as to how the clock code works, we go to the sketching phase of the video, and at around 5 minutes and 21 seconds, you start to see a series of shots where the clock is featured in them. Side note, by video 3, we got into the habit of going to thrift shops and other random stores and buying whatever we could find that had like letters on it or numbers on it that we might be able to turn into some kind of visual code. This clock worked great, and we came up with a cipher using this clock. Later, searching online, we figured out that actually clock ciphers already existed, but I'm not sure if ours follows the same rules as like the established clock ciphers. We kind of just made one up from scratch. Anyway, the clock shows different times whenever it reappears on screen. First time is 7:19, next one's 8, then 12:12, 4, 5, 2:14, 5:17, 12, 3:15, 12 again, 6:18, another 6:18, 10:22, 2:14, 5:17, and 3. Our clock code goes like this. A equals 12, which, we already revealed in the video. B is 1, C is 2, so on and so forth until you reach the letter L, which is 11. But at this point, we loop back around the clock to 12. So now we start using the minute hand. 12:12 is the letter M, 1:13 is the letter N, 2:14 is the letter O, and so on and so forth until you end at 1:25, which is the letter Z. So when you take the times that are given during this sketching sequence, you can use the clock code to figure out that it says time for a password. Time for a password. Maybe the detectives should use time for a password. So the password for something is time. Let's keep that in mind. All right, the next clue. During this section of the video, we see a series of colors scroll by while a familiar classical tune plays in reverse. What is that classical tune? Anyway, this is a Pantone code cipher that we made up by trying to figure out how to turn art and design materials into codes. I was like, hey, Pantones have numbers. I use Pantones all the time. How can we turn this into a code? It is an art channel after all. So in order to solve the Pantone code, you gotta look at these colors and find out what Pantone color they are. And then when you find that out, you know the Pantone code, and you add up the digits of its color code. So for instance, solid coded Pantone 293 is the letter N, because N is the 14th letter of the alphabet, and 2 plus 9 plus 3 equals 14. Once you figure out all the Pantones and turn their Pantone numbers into letters by adding up the digits, you get the message, password is Tyndall. Also in this video, we gave a little help for the Pantone code. During this scene, I talk about an X-ray. The Martian human scientists will have rescued this painting, and they'll use some super futuristic X-ray technology to look beneath the paint. During the X-ray effect, on the last couple frames on the right-hand side of the screen, you can quickly see a link that's 1000art.com/C17. If you follow this link, it'll bring you to a page with high-quality image files of the Pantone code exported directly from Photoshop that are the same as the ones that appear in the video. I wanted the detectives to have the actual files so that they could accurately figure out the Pantones. I was super worried about how YouTube compression might shift the colors slightly so that you couldn't really figure out what the Pantones were, so I just gave them the direct files with this hidden link in the video. Meanwhile, over on the Cardinal on Video Twitter account, you remember that? A tweet was posted with a link to 1000art.com/note. This link takes you to a password protected web page where once the password we got from the Pantone code, which of course is Tyndall, is entered in, we find an excerpt from the Eel's journal.
I was taking a shortcut through the catacombs. I saw shadows moving up ahead and heard faint whispers. I couldn't make out much. I distinctly did hear a couple of words. Arrest, 1979. I wish I could have got closer to see and hear more, but it was too risky. I had to be silent as a shadow. The torchlight grew dim. The sound of footsteps shrunk into the darkness. Something isn't right here.
And the Eel can make out the words arrest and 1979. Now this is a reference, a very subtle reference, to a certain medical journal entry that would be a major clue to the mystery if found. But at this point, if you Google the words arrest in 1979 together, the results will just be way too wide. But we gotta keep this on the back burner for now and maybe collect some more info to add to these words to narrow down our search. We got a lot of loose threads right now, but they're gonna slowly start getting pulled into place. Anyway, the Eel's journal also has another bit of a unique feature in that it is a bitmap file. When the bitmap is opened in a text editor, at the very bottom of the text, you'll find a hidden message. It reads, "Look for the red ribbon, the journey shall be rewarded." Matthew 7:7. Okay, so now we're going to be looking for a red ribbon of some sort, and it has something to do with the Bible verse Matthew 7:7, which is that seek and ye shall find verse I read earlier that we also see on the heron's sleeve. Interesting. Okay, back to the video. This part's a bit random, but for one single frame, you can see a masked and hidden man holding a radio. We'll return to him in just a little bit. Jumping later in the video, you can see another editor's log, which appears on screen for one frame, very similar to the last video. However, moving forward, these will not be so easy to find. Okay, for the editor's log, narrator Nick, take it away.
Editor's log. Hi everyone. Nick here again. Thanks for all the love and support in the comments on the last video. The first week wasn't too rough. I've helped with 2 videos. I'm burrowing in and learning fast. I've worked hard on a couple of things that ended up on the cutting room floor, but I'm thick-skinned. But things have been getting a little weird. I poked my head into a storage closet in the studio looking for an extra HDMI cable or something. In the closet was a small stack of paintings that I'd never seen before. I started looking through the pieces, and they contained strange, distorted images of animal heads. I started to feel a little dizzy and see orange flashes of light across my vision. I'm not sure if I passed out or what. I remember having some visions of deep, earthy tunnels, and I felt like I was falling for a long time, until I finally landed in shallow, muddy waters. Next thing I knew, I was back at home. I don't remember driving home, entering my security code, or getting into bed. I'm not going in that closet anymore. Nick.
Listen, the part about this being Nick's second video ever is actually true. He had no editing experience, but I liked his vibe and could tell he was smart and a fast learner, so I started training him how to edit from scratch. Looking back, it's actually insane he started learning to edit and shadowing me starting at the beginning of the Last Supper series, because it's the most ambitious and difficult series we've ever made. We weren't just making like random art-centric YouTube videos like this channel usually does. We had to painstakingly hide so many puzzles and codes and go frame by frame with a fine-toothed comb. Just kind of insane. Nick has come a long way, and this was a crazy way for him to get started. Anyway, this editor's log doesn't give away any specific clues, but instead gives some cryptic hints to perhaps who could be involved in this plot to betray the heron. There are references to burrowing and earthy tunnels, as well as a reference to shallow, muddy waters. Something to ponder on. There's also a small nod to detectives that the color orange could be an indication of a clue or hint being revealed, as there tends to be a plethora of orange things visible when clues are given in this series. Orange often became our go-to color to subtly hint that a clue might be around. Okay, let's jump towards the end of the video. As the Patreon names scroll by, we see a link mixed in with the Patreon names. This is a link to an unlisted video titled 536F6172, so on and so forth. Oh wait, this is that creepy dude in the red hood with the creepy mask we saw for one frame earlier in the main video. Cool. Anyway, back to the title. This long list of numbers and letters is a hexadecimal code, and once translated, it says Soar Civilized Sun. Soar Civilized Sun is a strange sequence of words. Perhaps it's another anagram. Why, yes. Yes, it is. Soar Civilized Sun is an anagram for Sonic Visualizer, which is a program that allows you to see sound waves. The description of the video says Scacchi, which is Italian for chess. This tells detectives where to look for answers. You remember during the intro of the video, the chessboard cipher where the queen was jumping around? It spelled out for detectives to view the sound. This masked figure in the video is holding a radio while a scratchy and loud sound plays. In order to solve this one, you have to rip the unlisted video from YouTube, download the Sonic Visualizer, and process the audio from this video through that Sonic Visualizer program. Once you've done that, you'll get an image of the actual sound file. And inside this image, aka sound file, we hid some things. You'll see a rabbit's skull, you'll see a chemical compound, which a clever detective might discover that this compound is tetrodotoxin. Okay. We have some cryptic clues here, interesting. But we can also see that there's a link to 1000art.com/clock. Dang it, this is yet another password protected web page. But wait, if you remember from earlier, the clock code we solved spelled out time for a password. And since this website is 1000art.com/clock, the password must be time. Okay, let's enter that. And now we see this. Pastor Deus incomprehensiblis pacificus dominus clementissimus pacificus glorious, so on and so forth. Looks like a bunch of Latin stuff. This may look like gibberish to most, but if you are paying attention throughout the video, you will know that the song Ave Maria has played multiple times. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. This is that piece of classical music I kept hinting at during this breakdown. So it appears we should use an Ave Maria code to translate this. So once we enter this text into an Ave Maria decoder, we get the result Yarteb ton did nore het if. Okay, strange, but for those who watched the very first video in this series where I researched Da Vinci, you might recall that you have to read this piece of sheet music from right to left because Leonardo da Vinci is known to have written all throughout his life from right to left. You have to look at his writings in the mirror. So let's mirror this text and see what it says. Now we got something. True remains the Sphernidae. The heron he did not betray. Okay. What the heck is a Sphernidae? Well, a quick Google reveals that Sphernidae is the scientific name for hammerhead sharks. So it really reads, true remains the hammerhead. The heron he did not betray. Oh yeah, baby. It took a lot of work, but we've eliminated another suspect. We know it wasn't the heron, we know it wasn't the eel, we know it wasn't the narwhal, and now we know the hammerhead also did not betray the heron. Wow, we are really getting somewhere, folks. Oh yeah, also there's one single frame at the end of the video that's not a secret or a code or anything, it's just trying to help the detectives learn how to use YouTube. If you hit the pause button on YouTube and then use the comma button and the period button on your keyboard, you can go back 1 frame or forward 1 frame at a time. This was just to help them go frame by frame because everyone was trying to pause it at the exact right moment. During this video, I also finally finished the concept sketch for my painting and I showed it on screen. And then the clever detectives screenshotted this image and started inspecting it for clues. One thing they noticed is that the curtains looked a little funny. If you look very closely at the curtains, you'll see a hidden message. In very long and stretched out letters, they give a link to 1000art.com/go see the high-res artwork. And this was me just giving the gift of a much better version of this image to the detectives so that they could look at it more closely. And now that we have the high-res version of the artwork, let's dive into the completed sketch and find out what clues it reveals.
The completed sketch.
So here we have the completed sketch I finished in episode 3. There's a lot going on here, so let's dive into these hidden elements. First, let's look at the emblem on the eel's shirt. This is the logo for the SCP Foundation. The SCP Foundation is the internet's largest collaborative fiction writing project. Writers come up with tons of stories about a fictional agency that secures, contains, and protects against a wide host of anomalies that are generally supernatural in nature. Each SCP story is titled as SCP and then a number. So this logo on the eel's shirt lets detectives know they may need to be looking for some SCP stories. Which takes us to these paintings on the back walls. Each painting is displaying my artist's rendition of individual SCP stories. The detectives need to figure out which stories these are and then get the numbers of the SCPs that they're depicting. In the first one, we see a fountain pen with lots of black ink all over the background. This is a reference to SCP-505, which is a story about a common fountain pen, but the ink inside seems to be self-replicating and just keeps spreading and spreading. The second painting is SCP-1219, where a victim will hear a whistled version of Camptown Races whenever it's dark. The whistling will continue non-stop until light is present. However, if the victim whistles along to the tune or hums to it or interacts with it in any way, the victim will be severely and rapidly dismembered and flayed. Yeesh. Next we have SCP-123, which is about a small geometric sphere which contains a miniature black hole at its center. Painting 4 is SCP-2023. It's about various wildflowers that appear at an Italian cave entrance. If you look closely at the flowers, you'll realize that they're made out of tiny gemstones. They only appear for a few days at a time and then die off. When the wind passes through them, they produce these like human-like voices. And there's an inscription on the cave wall that reads, "This is the only life I can hope to offer. Lend me your smiles and tears a while. You outweigh the long days of darkness. Beloved dear queen, please continue to return. The gates of the world below will always be open to you, whether you enter or leave them." Then we have SCP-1519. It's about this creepy toothed worm thingy that also produces electricity. And when they found it, they also found a note that I have depicted in my piece of art. Painting 6 is SCP-801. This entry is about a series of fur coats found in a hunting lodge, I believe in the Adirondacks. If you put the fur clothing on, it will cause you to go through like a crazy painful metamorphosis and you basically turn into a human animal version of the fur that you put on and you get super aggressive. Next we have SCP-415. This is an entry about an average 36-year-old regular old guy, but he happens to have a regenerative healing ability. Some unknown third party has installed several zippers on his body, probably to harvest his organs since they can just grow back. He also sporadically warps into other dimensions and reappears with new modifications on his body. And finally, we have SCP-2319, which is a shipwreck found in the seas near Australia, and it's an exact mirror of the Titanic shipwreck. And all the text on the shipwreck is mirrored and the layout is mirrored. Okay, so if the detectives were able to determine these SCPs in these paintings, they get a list of SCP numbers. Let's take the first one, 505. If you split these numbers into chunks of 2, you get 5 and then 5. E is the 5th letter of the alphabet, so we have EE. The next one is 1219, so break it into 2. We have the 12th letter of the alphabet, which is L, and the 19th letter, which is S. If you continue this pattern, you get this message: Eel saw 2 shadows. If we think back to the eel's journal we saw earlier, we remember he was down in the catacombs and saw shadows and heard whispers. Well, this hint says the eel saw 2 shadows. so perhaps there were 2 people down in the catacombs. The Roman numerals above the paintings pertain to the SCP series the entries are categorized under. So on the SCP Wiki, Series 1 is SCP-1 through 999, Series 2 is SCP-1000 through 1999, and so on. This was to help the detectives narrow down the SCPs because there's over 7,000 entries on the SCP Wiki. Next, we have some 11th hour references. So there's a book called The 11th Hour by Graham Bass. This was an absolute favorite of mine as a kid and ended up being a big influence on this game. The book is a big mystery with lots of hidden clues featured in these amazing illustrations of this book. For some of the references to this book, we see a clock on the back wall that says 11, aka the 11th hour. We see a graffiti tag on the wall that says Bassy, which is a reference to Graham Bass, who's the author of the 11th hour. Down here under the table, we see the mouse Kilroy, which was a main character of the 11th hour. Over here, we have an Australian license plate, which can be seen on the Rhino's motor scooter from the 11th hour. There's also a playing card code hidden in here that's based on one of the codes from the 11th hour. Spread across the dinner guests is a number code. To the best of my knowledge, no detectives ever put this one together. From left to right, we see some numbers. 23 on the bull's backpack, 1 on the bull's earring. We see XX here, which is the Roman numeral for 20. We see a 3 on the bull's scarf, 8 on the bull's necklace, a 10 on the tiger's necklace, and a 3 on the heron's sleeve. If you assign these numbers to the alphabet, it spells out Watch JC. JC is short for Jesus Christ. The heron is the character in Jesus' position. He has a watch on, Watch JC. On the watch, the hour hand is pointing to 9, and the minute hand is pointing to 11. Maybe we should watch the 9th and 11th characters closely. Perhaps. Okay, diving into the tablecloth, there's a couple things going on here. First is these pictograms, or what is called rebus puzzles. These images make up phrases. From left to right, we have an eye, which could be look, an arrow kind of pointing under the ground, which could be beneath. We have a knight's head, which is sir, and then we have a face. Look, beneath, sir, face. Look beneath surface. And then you'll see a little dot next to the face, which means that's the end of the phrase. It's like a period. The next one, this is the Roman numeral for 11, and then we have a sundial next, so it's 11th hour, a hint towards the book by Graham Bass. Next, tucked behind the eel's tail here is a wave, which could be C, and then we have a speaker playing sound. So C, sound, which is a hint to that sonic visualizer we talked about earlier. Next one, we have an eye, and then we have a hand lifting up a rock with an arrow pointing beneath it. So look, beneath, branch. That ties back to that beneath branch code we got from the animal names. Next, we have a woman here, so you could call her her. And then we have a switch that's set to the on position. Her on, her on. Heron, hey, heron. Then we have a skull, which is a symbol of death. And then we have a hand waving back and forth, which is the symbol for saying goodbye. And then we have 2 people figures here. Heron killed by 2. Well, that's interesting. Next, we have one of my favorites. So these are some pants, aka some jeans. Who's a popular jean maker? Levi's. So we have Levi's, and then this is a bug, but if you look closely, it looks exactly like a tick. Levi, tick, and then we have a flag here for the United States, US. Levi, tick, US. Levi, tick, us. Leviticus. Leviticus. Oh yeah, Leviticus. And then this is the Hebrew symbol for L, Leviticus L. The next one we have is this scale, and it's set to an exactly even weight, L even. Leviticus 11. Okay, Leviticus 11. And then we have a hand holding up 6 fingers. Leviticus 11:6. Nailed it. This is a Bible verse that says, "And the hare, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean to you." That's interesting. Next we have a web. We got some glasses, which represent sight. We have one dude passing another. Web, sight, pass, and then a mouse saying a single word. Website, password. And then we have one of my watcher characters. Website, password, watcher. This is a reference to that password they had to enter to get into that hidden website. Next we have like a piece of Swiss cheese here, and that is very holy. Okay, holy. We got a guy's face here, and he's going, grrr. Holy, grrr. And then this is a mug of beer, also known as ale. Holy Grr Ale, Holy Grail. Nice. We have a hand with something in it. The hand is holding. Okay, Holy Grail, hold, key. The Holy Grail holds the key. And if we look right up here, we got a Holy Grail right there. Interesting. Okay, next it looks like we have an ant, and then this is like a driver's license or something, like an ID. Ant ID. And then we have some kind of grain. This looks like oats. Ant ID oat. Antidote. Antidote. Then we have a can. Somebody putting money in a piggy bank. Okay, that's save. Antidote can save. Oh, this was from earlier. Hair on. Antidote can save heron. Now that's interesting. And finally, we got a pan and a tuning fork. A tuning fork emits a tone. Pan tone. We got a coat. Is that Ed from Ed, Edd and Eddy? And this looks like some colors on a palette. Pantone coded colors. Oh, this is from the Pantone clue earlier to let the detectives know they need to be looking specifically at the coded library of Pantone colors. Whew. Okay, so now let's zoom out a bit, and if we look at the whole tablecloth and imagine the pictures as dots and the flowers as blank spaces, all of a sudden we have a message in Braille which reads, conspiracy of two. Wow, okay. Now I'm really starting to think there may have been two people involved in this betrayal. On the table legs we find anagrams. This first set is seek, find. The next one is knock, open. Also note that knock, open legs have a little lock leaning on them. Next one is ask, given. Next one is find, receive. This is all in reference to Matthew 7:7. Over here we have a stuffed animal bunny with an emblem on its shirt that looks similar to the eye of another character. We have a bottle over here with the letter X on it, which may play a role in the plot. This book down here is a drawing of a real book called War of the Newts. Is that alluding to the newt in this painting? On the table, we see a series of oranges and plates, which are currently penciled in blue, but later they'll be painted orange. If the plates are dashes and the oranges are dots, we can see that this is actually a string of Morse code. Translating this, it says antelope innocent. Oh yes, another character we can cross off our suspect list. The antelope is innocent. Down here we have a garden spade, another hint towards digging. The eagle is holding a trumpet with 3 angel wings on it and the number 813 inscribed on it. This is a reference to Revelations 8:13, which reads, as I watched, I heard an eagle that was flying in midair call out in a loud voice, woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of earth because of the trumpet blasts about to be sounded by the other 3 angels. On the cryptex here, there's like a little word search. We see the words cardinal, here's no, and here's guilty. Is that another character proven innocent? We also see the words kill and heron. This doesn't bode well for our friend the heron. Throughout the piece, there are a lot of playing cards, and you guessed it, this is a code. In this one, the ace of hearts is A, the 2 of hearts is B, the 3 of hearts is C, and so on until we reach the king of hearts as the letter M. Then we gotta switch over to clubs. The ace of clubs is N, the 2 of clubs is O, and so on until we reach the king of clubs being Z. If we find all the cards in the piece and read them from left to right, we get eagle is innocent. Yes, another suspect crossed off our list. It wasn't the heron, wasn't the eel, the narwhal, the hammerhead, the antelope. Pretty sure it wasn't the cardinal. I don't know, that cryptex clue was a little tricky. And now we know it also wasn't the eagle. Wow, that's like half the suspects eliminated. We're doing good work here. Let's also just take quick note that there's a syringe sitting here on the table. That's strange. Shooting over to the tiger, we see that she's holding a book that says a Luddite tongue lit. By this point, anytime you see super random words put together, you might start thinking to yourself, this could be an anagram. Well, it is. It's an anagram for longitude and latitude. Okay. Now, on this same book, we also see an image of a person's face with an interesting black mark on their face. Well, this is a Marvel character named Domino. Okay, so we have longitude and latitude on this book, and we have domino. And since I'm seeing a lot of dominoes in this piece, they must be a clue to get some kind of longitude and latitude coordinates. This first one here has a 2 and a 2. Let's add those together to get 4. The next one has a 2 and a 1. Let's add those together to get 3. And if we keep doing this method for all the dominoes across the piece, we get these coordinates. If we pop those into Google, what do we get? Let's zoom out a bit. Wait a second. Is that Branch Township? Like the beneath branch clues we got? Wait, is that sitting on US 10? Like the tiger's necklace? Zoom out some more. Oh crap. Oh crap, it's Michigan. It's all coming together. We can also see down here, the tiger-striped cat is holding a map that resembles Branch, Michigan. We had the pictogram earlier that told us to look beneath Branch, and if you search Branch, Michigan in Google, you might find this page that features this image. Wait, that looks familiar. Oh yeah, there it is under the table. Wait a second, I'm thinking back now. We had that weird password Tyndall. That was a strange word. Oh shoot, here is Tyndall Road in Branch, Michigan. It's all coming together. This has got to be the place. And that is exactly what all the detectives thought too after they cracked the Domino's code. But there was one problem. The coordinates were pointing them to the wrong location. You guys, I think I kind of messed this one up. See, I thought I was giving the coordinates for the general location of Branch, Michigan, but these coordinates pointed to a specific location that happened to be on private property. Uh-oh. The detectives were gearing up to go out and start searching there in some boggy lake on some private farmland, and the last thing I needed was someone drowning in a frozen lake or getting shot by some angry property owner. I had to figure something out, and quick.
The buried clue.
So picture this. Here I was, sitting there on New Year's Eve 2021, lurking on the Patreon Discord, lurking on Reddit, and seeing these detectives about to venture out into the real world to the wrong location. Your boy had to make an emergency road trip. I honestly wanted to save this part for a little bit later in the game, but I had to do it right now. I didn't want detectives getting arrested for trespassing or getting hurt or anything like that. So I grabbed my stuff, jumped in my truck, and started my 3-hour trip to Branch, Michigan. All right, I'm about to take a little journey to go hide something. Once I got there, I found the perfect spot in a little public trail area and buried my treasure. It was only about 20 feet off the walking trail with good visibility and easy terrain. I tied a red ribbon around the tree to mark the spot and placed a branch on top of the freshly dug dirt. Hopefully, they can find this. I noted the exact GPS location, then I started tweeting out multiple photos from the Cardinal on Video Twitter account. Each photo was accompanied by a series of emojis. The detectives quickly took note and started reverse image searching the photos I was posting and found that they didn't exist anywhere else on the internet. They quickly deduced that I was the one taking these photos. On my trip, I pulled off at a lot of locations near Branch, Michigan, and was taking photos of anything that looked unique or identifiable. I even found this school with a Cardinal mascot and this giant bull, which coincidentally are both characters in the painting. The detectives started frantically searching for these locations. The emojis that accompanied the photos were a simple code to get the GPS coordinates. You just gotta count the different emojis. 4 pine trees, 3 snowflakes, okay, 4, 3. Then 9 eyeballs, 3 skulls, and 2 diamonds. The next digits are 9, 3, 2. If you keep going like this, you get a full set of coordinates that lead to the buried clue. The online community eventually figured this out and then started figuring out a way for someone to get to this location. Someone had the clever idea of searching online geocaching communities to see if there was any hobbyists that lived in the area. It turns out there was a geocaching enthusiast who lived about 15 minutes from the location, and after a long and confusing explanation, the guy said he would go check it out. The next day he went out there, but on his first trip, he said he couldn't find it, and it must be gone. But after some urging from the detective community, he went out for a second trip and did find the buried clue. Inside the box was a cryptix and an envelope labeled "The Journey Shall Be Rewarded." And inside the envelope was...
Busted in. Is it money? Oh! Knew it. I knew it was money.
Holy. Wow.
Woo.
That's awesome.
100
That
probably.
is so cool.
More than that.
400.
400.
I thought whoever actually went out there and dug it up deserved a little buried treasure. But now they have this cryptex to open. The online community got to work trying to figure out a 5-letter word to open it up. A lot of ideas were thrown around, and they worked out a list to send to the guy who found it. Ultimately, you needed to look back to Matthew 7:7. Seek and ye shall find, ask and it shall be given to you, knock and it shall be opened unto you. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. The password must be knock. The cryptex slid open when the word was entered, and inside was a piece of paper with a series of numbers written on it. This is a book code. Remember the clue from the first video that said find the book? Well, it looks like they gotta find the book. There have been a few books mentioned, On the Trail of the Golden Owl, The War of the Newts, but the one with the most codes and hints given so far is definitely The 11th Hour. Using this book for the book code, if you take the first number, you get the page, and the second number is the word. If you take the first letter from that word and do the same for all the numbers in the code, you get this message. The Pentamera's bells ring out to the shadows. Their keys sing the call of the heron. The studious shall prevail. A number is coming. The tiger led you here. True was the path. But is the tiger true in all? This is a very cryptic message, but the first chunk hints towards the end game. Let's start with the fourth line first. A number is coming. At the end of the series, we're gonna hide a phone number that the detectives could call into, where they would answer the question of who betrayed the heron. So a number is coming, a phone number. Jumping back to the first line, the Pentamera's bells ring out to the shadows. Pentamerous means having 5 parts. The bells, well, bells ring, but also phones ring. Alexander Graham Bell is credited with inventing the phone. So in a very cryptic way, it's saying we were going to take up to 5 detectives who were the first to call in, and they would be the finalists to compete to win the painting. So if the Pentamera's bells are the 5 finalists calling in, the next line, their keys sing the call of the heron, is saying they have overcome a lot of puzzles and locked doors, but now they have all the keys, and it points towards who betrayed the heron. The next line, the studious shall prevail. In the end, we're going to be testing their knowledge of the game to determine who won the painting. So they better study. The next section, the tiger led you here, true was the path. In the sketch, the tiger was holding the book with the longitude and latitude clue and with the domino face, which led them to the coordinates. Also, the tiger's striped cat under the table is holding a map of Branch, Michigan, so the tiger led them to this clue. And then the final line, but is the tiger true in all? Is she guilty? Is she innocent? We have to continue to find out.
The Last Supper Part 4.
The fourth installment. Dang, I think I actually start painting in this one. Starting off strong at 26 seconds on the sound panel over my left shoulder. So I need to figure out a way to sand this thing inside without completely destroying my YouTube studio. Is the editor's log, hidden very sneakily. Narrator Nick, take it away.
Editor's log. Hello again, YouTube. Things have been going well in the Ten Hun studio. However, Peter has become obsessed with this piece. He began drinking these disgusting smoothies. He had to leave one morning, so I decided to take a sip, and I will not be doing that again. After a few minutes, my lips began to feel numb and I had troubles breathing. When he returned, I had to pretend like nothing was wrong, but after work I rushed to the hospital, and the doctor said they found dirt and mud in my lungs. I'm doing well now, but I will be avoiding anything Ten Hun tries to feed me from here on out. Nick.
And then we also see a link to a YouTube video. The detectives had a really hard time finding this editor's log, so the Cardinal on Video Twitter tweeted out a picture of just a sound panel to hopefully get them to look closer at the sound panels in this video. Anyway, this link in the editor's log will take you to an unlisted video titled Blender. This video is basically us acting out exactly what we just read in the editor's log. In this unlisted video at 29 seconds, we added some sneaky extra text to the blender. You can see a link here for 1000art.com/Oster. Yet another password locked page. Okay, we're gonna need a password. Jumping back to the main video. All right, the sanding is done. Now it's time for me to take my concept art and transfer it onto the panel. Behind me is a box with 4 images on it. The images are some ribs, some grass, a hand waving high, and the number 10. Wait, this seems familiar. This is the same anagram for raise brightness, which we saw in the Last Supper Part 2. Hopefully the detective should know this one. Once you raise the brightness, you see this hidden message that says, when doing your math, exclude any numbers seen in the concept sketch. You might be wondering what that means. Well, at 2 minutes and 24 seconds, there's a song I wrote in the video that goes a little something like this. Transfer sketch onto the piano. So many numbers you can't even see. Telling them up to get the passcode. Open your eyes to find what lies beneath. All right. In the lyrics, I say, transfer the sketch onto the panel. So many numbers you can hear and see. Tally them up to get the passcode. Open your eyes to find what lies beneath. So there's a lot of numbers that we can hear and we can see, and we have to add them up to get a passcode. Also in this song, we hear some reverse audio. When we reverse it back to normal, we hear a couple timestamps.
1 minute 20. 2 minutes 27.
So from 1 minute and 20 seconds to 2 minutes and 27 seconds is where we're supposed to add up every number that is visible, written, said, or sang, excluding the numbers within the concept art itself that the hint told us earlier. That gave us a final number, and we checked our math about 500 times. It was not a fun couple of days, but it seems many of you didn't have fun with this code either. This was our most hated puzzle of the whole game. The detectives didn't know how to categorize certain numbers, like for instance, if a clock said 1:12 p.m., should they add up 1 plus 1 plus 2, or should they add up 1 plus 12, or should they add 112, or maybe it's military time. Looking back, I can see how it would have been super confusing and frustrating, but hey, nobody said this thing was going to be easy, so I tried to help them out. The Cardinal on Video Twitter account tweeted a link to 1000art.com/numbers where an image could be downloaded. Within the image's metadata was a link to an unlisted YouTube video which was titled Thin 2. Now, at this point, we know that thin is an anagram for hint, and hopefully this is a good hint for them. Transfer the sketch onto the panel. So many numbers you can't even see. Tally them up to get the passcode. Open your eyes to find what lies beneath. Transfer the sketch onto the panel. So many numbers you can't even see. Tally them up to get the passcode. Open your eyes to find what lies beneath. Within that video is a much clearer audio version of the song that I wrote, with the vocals isolated and turned up so they could understand the lyrics much better. There's also a time slider that shows up with the exact beginning timestamp and the exact ending timestamp of where they're supposed to be looking for these numbers. This matches the reversed audio from the original video. This unlisted video's description also says, can't see any numbers on the yardstick, which is another hint that they can ignore the yardstick in their math. Later, I also tweeted out this Dragon Ball Z meme with over 9,000, letting them know the final number was going to be over 9,000. Eventually, the detectives decided to just brute force their way through the password locked page by entering every number over 9,000 until they landed on 10,048, which was the correct answer. Not the most elegant solution, but hey, it worked. Once they get into this web page, they find the first character card for the bull. These cards are written from the perspective of a detective interviewing each subject. From this point forward, collecting and analyzing these character investigation cards is going to be part of this game. These cards are how we slowly reveal the backstory of what's going on at this dinner party. In the top left, we see a handwritten note that says LS4, which stands for Last Supper 4, which is when this card was revealed. We have a picture of the bull here. We can see the name is Noel Adam Leatherman, born June 18, 1993, height 5'10", weight 185 pounds, eye color green. We have some possible known associates over here. Marks and special features: there's a lateral scar on left hand, probably from dropping that knife on his hand, a nose ring, and glasses. Now down in the notes section, we have an excerpt from the interview with Noel. Noel, which is the name of the bull, said,
I see Hollis writing things down in that journal constantly.
Okay, pause right there. Who is Hollis? Well, they're writing in a journal. So far, we did get that one clue of the eel's journal, so maybe Hollis is the eel. We gotta keep that in mind. Continuing, Noel said,
Hollis doesn't talk much, but writes things down all the time. Now that I think about it, I don't know if I've ever heard Hollis say a single word.
Maybe Hollis never talks. Noel continues,
That bottle? That's from Alex's shop.
Who's Alex?
Francis gave it to me, actually.
Who's Francis? We got a lot of names here, but we don't know who they are. Then Noel says,
It's just a little something to calm my nerves. I've noticed I've been dropping a lot of things lately.
yeah, probably that knife on your hand.
And I've just been under a lot of stress in general. Francis told me it would help me feel less shaking and get my head on straight. It's all perfectly legal, I assure you.
Okay, got a nervous, shaky guy here. There's a note here that says, what's with the gloves? Looking at the concept sketch, I do see some gloves in Noel's pocket. What do you need gloves for, Noel? Trying to hide some fingerprints? Interesting. Jumping back to Last Supper Part 4, all throughout the video, at random points, hidden within the closed captions, is a message that states, click the card, you will need a password. It is venerate. Okay, click the card. You will need a password. It is venerate. At 7 minutes, the card pops up in the corner of the video and is clearly labeled card. Clicking on this will take you to 1000art.com/card. Once here, you can type in the password, which we just learned is venerate, and you will be rewarded with the character card of the Hammerhead Shark. Looking at this card, we learned that the Hammerhead's name is Issa David Arvida, June 19, 1982, 6 foot, 195.5 pounds, eyes are blue. Special features, a strange symbol on neck. Okay. Known associates may be the newt, the cardinal, and the narwhal, but the newt seems to be crossed out. Let's take a look at this interview. The detective says,
I asked him what he remembers from the night. He said he saw Francis give Noel a small bottle.
wait, we know that Noel is the bull, right? Okay, so he said he saw Francis give the bull a small bottle. Francis was mentioned in that other card too.
From his uncle's shop.
Okay, so Francis's uncle owns some kind of shop.
He claimed he couldn't tell what it was, but it seemed like it was something Noel wanted kept private. As the interview continued, I asked him if he was in a relationship, and he quickly replied,
No, not at all.
He seemed very nervous and glanced around the room. I watched his whole demeanor change, and it seemed like a subject that made him uncomfortable.
Okay, what's with this relationship?
My instincts are telling me that Issa is hiding something. Does he know who betrayed the heron? I don't know, but I have a strong feeling the shark is hiding something.
Cool, so we got this bottle that Noel has. If we look back at the concept art, we see a bottle of pills on the table here, and we see this bottle labeled X sitting right under the bull on his seat. More info to keep in mind. Are these clues to the final answer? Is this all misdirection? I guess we gotta wait and find out. Okay, jumping back to Last Supper 4 and the final trail of clues in this video, we jump to 7 minutes and 7 seconds. Here we go. Where we've laid out a lineup of Golden brand art supplies in this shot. You'll notice there is exactly 26 art supplies in this shot. What else has 26 things? Oh yes, the alphabet. Each of these Golden art supplies has a unique product number from the Golden factory. The product with the lowest product number equals A, and the product with the highest product number equals Z. Then over the course of the next minute, products from that original lineup are hidden in shots. If you decode the product numbers in order, you will reveal the message, password is apotheosis. You might be saying that's all fine and good, but I have nowhere to use this password. Well, if you were paying attention to the Squarespace sponsored segment and not skipping through it, you may have noticed that at 8 minutes and 34 seconds, scrolling on the screen is a link, 1000art.com/Oriole. Once you go there, you put in the password of apotheosis and you are rewarded with the Narwhal's character card. Now, looking at this character card, we have Oriole Ramsey Ewing. Born August 29, 1988, 6'3", 198.5 pounds, eye color orange. Orange, huh? Known associates, maybe Pat? We don't know who Pat is yet, I don't think.
Oriole claims to have heard Pat talking about a disagreement over the art dealer's gift.
Who is this art dealer?
It seems to have led to a bit of a split or a rift amongst the guests. Oriole stated,
After the whole disagreement, I was gonna give the heron the fish I brought, but decided better not stir the bucket. I've never really seen the twins argue at all, let alone pick opposing sides like that. The tensions were high that night, and Elwyn really only seemed to exacerbate the situation. Okay, the narwhal was gonna give the fish as a gift. We see the narwhal holding a fish. We don't know who the art dealer is. Now we got twins, and they're fighting, and someone named Elwyn is making the situation worse. So far, these character cards are leading to more questions than answers, but we're gonna keep collecting them and see if we can figure out the story. Jumping back to the main video, the final clue is that the last frame of the video says, "A conflicted, dissed muse." This is an anagram for declassified documents, which is just a nod to the character cards the detectives have started receiving with this video.
The Last Supper Part 5.
It's time for me to start painting. Life always seems to get in the way. I am not shaving until the Last Supper painting is done. Pursuing your passion. This entire video series is a giant, elaborate treasure hunt.
The most ambitious painting of my entire life.
What the heck?
With this video, we were starting to feel more comfortable making the clues harder to find, and we were beginning to mix practical and digital effects in order to hide these clues, the first of which you'll find here. With this talking headshot, you'll notice the lamp in the background keeps flickering on and off. It's flickering on and off on specific words. The words go, let's go, to, time to get Jazza's. Man, I just wish I could grow a beard like Jazza's. YouTube. In my last YouTube video channel, I get to channel my inner Da Vinci. I wonder what he would think of this. Is it completely ridiculous? Are the detectives other? I have a lot of other art to make. Creator, like a freaking creator. So put all those words together and you get go to Jazza's YouTube channel. He is the other creator. If you pick up on this, it seems pretty easy until you realize Jazza has over 1,000 videos. So you gotta find out which one of his videos it is. When we jump to this clip,
So, Mr. 1000, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Harold. How you doing? We see a string of numbers on the back of the iPad. This is a hex code, and there are more of these hidden throughout the video. Here we have the hex for the, this one is other, then creators, this one is video, this is the hex for is, this one is the hex for kids, this one is art, redrawn, by a professional, this one is artist, and the last one is episode 9. And of course, a lot of these hex codes are written on orange paper. Once you decipher and get the message, you read, the other creator's video is kids art redrawn by professional artist, episode 9. So you travel across YouTube to Jazza's video, kids art redrawn by professional artist, episode 9. And in this video, there's an establishing shot of some art supplies, and Jazza very clearly says one thing kind of weird.
So I'm going to be working with 26 materials, starting off with a pencil.
He says a pencil instead of a pencil. It's way too emphasized. And then he explains that he has 24 markers.
Then bringing it to life with the 24 markers that I have to work with.
And he finishes weird too.
Specifically my favorite, the best brush pen you will ever use.
He says this is the best brush pen, which could indicate that the pencil is A, the brush pen is Z, and the 24 markers in between are the letters B through Y. Just about a minute into the video, we get our first letter P. This can be found by looking at the color of the marker sitting in the pen holder on Jazza's left. Throughout his video, the item in the cup changes each time he returns to this shot. If you correlate the item in the cup to the letter of the art supply alphabet, you'll find the hidden message, password, apothecary. Yo, shout out Jazza for agreeing to put a code in his video. Okay, so we got another password. Let's find where this goes. Going back to the main Last Supper video, we see this. Man, I totally got paint on my part that I already painted. Some right there on the yellow, some on the freaking fish, some on the sleeve. That sucks. Now I gotta go back and touch this art up that I've already done. And within that shot, there's a link written on the painting, 1000art.com/the other. This is the link where you're gonna use that password, apothecary. Once you enter that password, you'll receive the rabbit character card. The rabbit's real name is Alex Richard Garber, born December 16, 1980. He's 6'2", weighs 100 kilograms, eye color orange. Known associates may be the newt, the antelope, the baboon. Jumping down to the notes, we read,
When questioning Alex, he stated that the goblet was of minor importance to him, and he was more upset that Ori would not sell him the item.
Okay, we got a goblet. We got someone named Ori who wouldn't sell it to him. Alex said, I don't care about this stupid cup. It just became a matter of principle and respect. Ori he said I could have it, then later said, actually, I would prefer to give it as a gift to the heron. The detective notes,
He brought up Noel at multiple times.
let's see, Noel was the bull. Alex said, I saw him walking around all shaking in his boots over what he was about to do. What was he about to do? Then I saw him pull out that bottle that my nephew said he took from my store. Oh, so this is the uncle who owns the store. It's the rabbit. Or maybe he gave it to him. I don't know. I was never a big fan of Noel before, but now he has lost all my trust. The detective said,
When asked about his relationship with Francis, he refused to comment, saying,
family matters hold no regard in your investigation. Okay, so Francis is a member of the rabbit's family. We know the rabbit has a nephew, so maybe his nephew is Francis. The detective said,
His demeanor throughout the whole interview was relaxed, as if nothing was wrong.
This is very, very good information. Back to the video. Let's get painting.
Leonardo da Vinci, I think I can feel the power within me. I'ma gather up my paints, I got plenty. Vivid color saturation, that's what 10C. Grab a shovel in the crush, no. There's a whole other story with the brush strokes. I could tell you a secret in a hush tone. 5 bells ring true, singing come home. It's a mystery, it's a masterpiece. My calligraphy, a catastrophe. But my characters rock a lavish streets. Power animals, it's the mask you see. It's a travesty, yeah well actually it's a magic scene. When you have the key, who betrayed the heron? You could answer me.
Here we are in the first painting section. In this section, some of you may have noticed a Rubik's Cube with a piece of painter's tape covering a square on it. This appears in a lot of shots, but it seems like in each shot, the tape and color are changing on this Rubik's Cube. You may have also noticed that throughout this section, 3 paint bottles have a note written on them. The first of these we see is the yellow paint bottle proclaiming 19-27. The next one we see a few moments later is the red bottle with 1-9, and then that's followed by the white bottle which has 10-18 on it. These are keys for the Rubik's Cube puzzle that is hidden within this section of the video. The color of the paint bottle combined with the numbers gives us the key. So red is 1 through 9, so that represents the letters A through I. White is 10 through 18, so that represents the letters J through R. And yellow is 19 through 27, so that represents the letters S through Z. Now that we know this, we can go back through this section and see where the piece of tape is located on the cube, find what letter that represents, and discover that the Rubik's Cube code tells us to seek a key, type Lazarus. Also during the Rubik's Cube puzzle, we get this random glitch. Now that I'm painting the characters, super fun. Welcome back to Pentamera's Bells, the only game show where you get to answer the question, who This segment is another hint towards the end game and the Pentamera's Bells we learned about from the book code buried in the cryptex. Once again, we're hinting at the detectives that are going to have to compete with their knowledge to win the game. Now let's jump to just after the 9-minute mark where I say, just chalk that one up to throwing it out to the wind. And then a breeze animation comes flying out of my hand. Hidden within this animation is the text that says description. So let's look at the YouTube description here. It looks like we periodically find some words in all capital letters. We have 1000art.com/ascension. Okay, that's pretty easy. 1000art.com/ascension. When you go there and type in Lazarus, which we learned from the Rubik's Cube, we will be shown the Eagles character card. The Eagle's real name is Pat Sierra Ulrich. January 16, 1996. She's 5'4", 122 pounds. Eyes are blue. Has a heart tattoo on her right cheek. Known associates, seems to be a nosy loner. Okay. Looking at the notes, she said,
all I know is Alex really wanted this dumb cup. It was pretty fancy, I guess. But when Ori, the antique dealer,
oh, there's the antiques dealer. Their name's Ori.
wouldn't sell it, that kind of led to this whole thing. Alex's nephew didn't hear the end of it from Alex.
We have Alex's nephew being referenced again. That's the rabbit. We gotta remember, Alex is the rabbit.
Alex also seemed to get Harley in on it.
Okay, now we have someone named Harley.
They both seem to have some kind of beef with Ori.
So Ori's the antiques dealer.
I mean, Harley is known to jump into some drama and has a jealous streak. It was something about the gift being too fancy or something. I'm not really too sure. This led to a rift between the twins because Easton was taking the side of Ori and Elwyn was instigating the whole thing, taking Harley's side and antagonizing Easton.
Wow, this is a tangled web. We got the twins. Easton is on Ori's side, who is the antiques dealer. Elwyn was that guy who was instigating stuff earlier and taking Harley's side. Okay, let's keep going.
I mean, they were in a relationship after all. So then it became family versus relationship, and that gets ugly quick.
Okay, so is Elwyn in a relationship with Easton? No. Harley is in a relationship with Elwyn, and Easton is the twin of Harley. That's what I'm thinking. Then the Eagle said,
Whoa, guys. Let's just calm down and get along. But that didn't seem to help much at all.
This whoa is a reference to that Revelations Bible verse that's referenced on the Eagle's trumpet.
Jumping back to the main video, right here at this point we see another random cutaway.
This has been Harold Harrington with Beard Watch.
We see footage of 5 bells, a telephone, then that fades into footage of an audience clapping. So we're still subtly hinting at the first 5 callers being the ones to compete in the endgame. Now a few minutes later, Nick interrupts me by eating some chips.
feel like I'm finally making some progress. Oh, hi, Nick.
Hey, Pete.
What are you doing?
Eating some chips.
So, you think we should get back to work?
Yeah, let's get back to work.
He sets the bag of chips down on the painting, revealing a link on the bag. 1000art.com/chips. Here we have a page that needs a password. If we jump to the end of the video, we see this riddle. I'm a single word with 5 letters. Decapitate me once, I'm the same. Decolate me again, I'm still the same. Decolate means the same thing as decapitate, by the way. Pause the video if you want to try the riddle, but I am going to reveal it now. Okay. The answer is alone. Decapitate the A from alone, you still have lone. Decapitate the L from lone, you still have one. Alone, lone, and one are all the same. So alone is the password for 1000art.com/chips. Once we enter alone on that page, we can see there's an unlisted video called Knock Knock. Shortly after the video begins, you'll see a link for 1000art.com/gift in the magnets on the studio door as Nick begins to open it. As you might have expected, this is a password protected page, but if we go back to the unlisted video, we can hopefully find the password in there somewhere. Remember earlier when I said the color orange is an indicator of a clue? Hopefully you did, because the answer to this one can be hard to spot if you've forgotten that tidbit of information. If we jump back to the video where Nick places the gift on the table, if we look at the orange letters, we can see they spell out the word Pixie. This is the password for the web page seen earlier in this hidden video, 1000art.com/gift. So let's put Pixie into that website, and now we're given the baboon's character card. Sweet. Okay, so the baboon's name is Elwyn Lawrence Ingram. This is Elwyn. He's the one who's been like instigating an argument between some twins or something, if I remember correctly, or making the situation worse. And I believe Harley is in a relationship with Elwyn based on our previous character cards. Okay, so he's born August 27, 95, 5'11", 189 pounds, eye color blue, known associates Esther and Alec. From the notes, we see the detectives say,
I asked Elwyn to recount the events of that evening from his perspective. He said,
Look, Easton started yelling at Alex for grabbing the cup.
Okay, Alex is the rabbit. Not sure if we know who Easton is yet.
I was already pissed at Easton because my girlfriend had been going back and forth with Easton throughout the evening.
Right, so that relationship from earlier, I think Elwin and Harley are boyfriend and girlfriend.
When I asked Elwin who his girlfriend was, he replied Esther.
Wait a second, Esther? It seemed like from the Eagles character card that the baboon was in a relationship with someone named Harley. What's going on here? Does this baboon have 2 girlfriends? We gotta keep that in mind. The detective goes on to say,
I asked Elwin who he thought betrayed the heron, and he stated,
I don't know, but my question is, who brings an axe to a dinner party?
oh, so the cardinal has an axe. So the baboon seems to be pointing the finger at the cardinal. This is interesting. Okay, jumping back to the video, a few other random points of interest. You can see the words X bottle written on a cottage cheese container. So we're drawing the viewer's attention to the X bottle. In this top-down shot, there's like these mounting arms, but you can see writing on there that reads, "Who is Francis?" And finally, in the closing shot of the video, we see an editor's log appear. This is the Last Supper. Who betrayed the heron? Keep them eyes open, baby. I will catch you guys on the next one. Right here on my paint palette. Sneaky, sneaky.
Editor's log. Hello again, YouTube. I've come to give you another update on life in the studio. Tenhun has been staying very late at the studio, obsessing over every little detail on this piece. He found out that I had a sip of his smoothie and got very upset with me. He explained that I had no idea the damage I could have done. Recently, 2 strange gifts showed up at the studio. They were wrapped in a peculiar paper. I'm quite nervous to open them as I've learned my lesson when it comes to touching mysterious objects around here. Anyway, old Tenny Hundo is calling, so I must go now. Nick.
This pertains to the unlisted videos we had earlier, the one where Nick was drinking the smoothie, the one where the strange gift showed up, and having the editor's log reference to these unlisted videos is kind of a trend that we kept as we move forward in this process. And last we have this clip. Good morning. Slipper squad. Hope you're wearing slippers like me, keeping it cozy. Alrighty. Did you see that? What was that paper by my feet? Okay, taking a closer look, this is a timestamp code that references this video. The timestamps are given in 24ths of a second, because my videos are 24 frames per second. If you go to each of those frames throughout the video, you should take the first letter of the word that I'm saying at the exact timestamp. Treasure. First when I say treasure. Okay, first letter of that is T. Hey, y'all. Next when I say hey, first letter of that is H. Working top left to bottom right, down the page, you will eventually have written out, the bells come from the 5 corners of the earth to bestow truth in a world of confusion. Once again, a reference to the detectives being the pentamerous bells that will be competing in the endgame. Usually the saying goes 4 corners of the earth, but we were gonna allow up to 5 finalists to compete for the grand prize, which is the painting. They're gonna bestow truth in a world of confusion because this game is definitely confusing, but they have the truth, they have the answers, and whoever had the most knowledge would win. And finally in this video, I announced an upcoming live stream where I'm gonna be working on The Last Supper. Kind of starting to think that maybe this shouldn't just be documented in highly produced YouTube videos, and maybe I should take it to the live stream realm because I really don't want to put out 65 videos in this series. Which takes us directly into
The Last Supper live stream.
While the live stream was by far the longest piece of content made on this journey, it's also the least densely filled with clues. After all, it's way more difficult to hide clues live than it is in a heavily edited video. But you better believe the detectives were in there looking for anything of interest, and we couldn't let them down. So if we jump to this moment, we see this.
Sorry, back to Pete.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's get back to this painting. When I replace the lid on my palette, you can see this URL, 1000art.com/NickCam. Throughout the live stream, I kept referring to the Nick Cam, which was a camera stuck on Nick we would cut away to, because Nick was staying on top of the chat while I painted. If you follow this link, you'll see a password protected page. Surprise, surprise. So, to find the password, we have to pay close attention when the camera cuts away to the Nick Cam. Throughout the live stream, Nick was delivering random dad jokes.
How do you get a squirrel to like you? Act like a nut. What do you call someone with no body and no nose? Nobody knows. Where do boats go when they're sick? They go to the boat dock, of course.
Dad jokes are terrible. I mean, they're even worse when you're just like saying them into like,
a camera
a
and
camera lens.
There's nobody
No one
around.
can groan, no one can chuckle, no one can laugh. It's just like. But he was also revealing a secret. If you look in the corner of the frame, you'll see a letter. The camera would go back to me while I was painting for a while, and when we cut back to the Nick cam, you see a new letter. And this keeps happening throughout the whole live stream. If we collect the letters throughout the live stream, we have S, E, K, O, J, D, A, and then D. So we get Sekojdad. Sekojdad. Okay. Wait, let's reverse that. Dad jokes. The password is dad jokes. If we enter that password into the page, we get the Heron card. Okay, the Heron's name is Salvador Devin Atasa. Born December 25th, 1988, Christmas. He's 6'1", 130 pounds, eyes are purple. He has 3 distinct markings under his right eye and a marking on his left eye. His known associates are literally everybody. What do we have in the notes?
By all accounts, he seemed to be a really great guy. I've heard he had a pretty powerful dad and was one of those men in high places. He seemed to impact a lot of people's lives in a positive way. The question is, who would want him dead? This dinner party seems to have a lot of folks with secret motivations and hidden grudges. Now it's my job to get to the bottom of this. I know many of these guests know a lot more than they're telling me. Who betrayed the Heron?
Not a whole lot of new information in this one, but there's got to be a reason we got this character card. Maybe some of these stats like height, weight, birth dates, names, maybe that will be a code later. But with that, we've revealed all the secrets the live stream holds.
Last Supper Part 6.
It's time. It's Last Supper time. It has been 2 months since I've even touched this painting. It's been sitting right back there, staring me in the face every day at the studio, overwhelming me, filling me with anxiety. And you know what? It is time to start painting on my version of the Last Supper again.
Bless Lou.
Oh, thank you. So I have a heck of a lot of work to do on this. Okay, jumping into The Last Supper 6, we can see some stuff going on in this intro. You can see this red light blinking on my A10 Mini, which is just like a little piece of live streaming gear, but that's not important. What is important is that some of these flashes are short and some are a bit longer. Some of you may be putting together that this flashing is Morse code. The Morse code says hidden link on keyboard. So you might be thinking, hey, there's a keyboard right there. Let's look at that. But this is just a regular old keyboard. And also, no, it's not this keyboard we see later. This is a keyboard we put in this scene specifically to mess with people. What we do have to do is jump to this painting section to find a keyboard. And the keyboard we're looking for is actually the keyboard on the iPad. If you look closely, the regular keyboard has been replaced from the typical QWERTY to instead saying https:/// and then we have a YouTube link laid out across the rest of the keys. All right, we got a link. Following this link will take you to an unlisted video titled Follow. In this video, Nick finds the X bottle. He's freaking out a bit and tries to get rid of it. When he returns to his editing station, somehow it's back again. This is freaky and confusing to him, so he gets rid of it again. But right when he gets back to work, it's back again. Now he's really got to get rid of this thing. He drives for miles, then goes into the woods and buries it. Finally, when he returns to the studio and sits back down at his workstation, you guessed it, the bottle is back. Aside from the spooky vibes and Nick's Oscar-level acting, what you might find here is a link hiding on this leg of this tripod. We can zoom in and see the link is 1000art.com/Arthur. At the end of this unlisted video, there's also a deliberate red herring in the form of a red tin of herring on Nick's desk next to the X bottle. Could this X bottle be a red herring, or is it important? Quick side note, this was actually a can of sardines, so we spray painted the word sardine off of there and edited in the word herring because we couldn't find any canned herring locally, especially not in a red tin. Anyway, following that Arthur link, we're gonna be stopped by a password, so we gotta go back to the main video and find a password. And luckily this one is fairly blatant. It goes over my head. Around the 4-minute and 45-second mark, there's a shot of me picking up a bottle of paint, and clearly visible in the frame is an orange sticky note with a drawing of a key on it and the word avail. I guess avail is the key. Also, fun fact about avail, this is a reference to one of the inventors of Morse code, Alfred Vail, who worked alongside Samuel Morse. Anyway, entering avail into 1000art.com/Arthur we will receive the Aardvark's character card. The Aardvark's real name is Esther Harley Thompson. Oh, so when the baboon was saying he was dating Esther, but the eagle was saying he was dating Harley, Esther's first name is Esther and her middle name is Harley. Now that makes sense. Her birthday is February 1694, 5'8", 110 pounds, green eyes, Roman numeral 2 tattoo on her right hand. Known associates are Alex and Elwin. All right, we know Alex is the rabbit and we know Elwin is the baboon. And they all happen to be sitting together at the dinner table. And I think we've gathered from previous cards that Esther, aka Harley, is the twin of somebody. Let's read the notes. The detective says,
I asked her about all her number 2s. She seems to be obsessed with the number 2. Duplicity is her philosophy. She said Elwin is her perfect duplicitous mirror, and that is why their relationship works.
Right, this is the baboon's girlfriend.
She confessed she is the twin of Easton.
Okay, so Harley and Easton were arguing, and they're actually twins. The detective continues,
although she no longer considers him family.
Wow. This is quite the argument. Splitting up twins. That's no laughing matter.
Esther has taken the side of the rabbit in the argument because she got the hare and a fish, but the tiger's gift was so much better that she became jealous. She harbors a deep hatred for Ori.
Okay, so I'm starting to put it together. Ori could be the tiger, who is also the antiques dealer, who also wouldn't sell the rabbit the golden goblet, but instead gave it as a gift to the heron. And now Esther, aka Harley, is all upset because her gift is like worthless compared to this beautiful golden goblet. And Esther is mad at Easton for some reason. And the baboon is egging on the argument because he's dating Esther. The story elements are starting to fall into place here. Let's jump back to the main video.
I hunger for the truth, I think I got a craving. And tell me what you really wanna know.
We see a series of letters. This is a QWERTY cipher. The QWERTY cipher is a simple cipher that rearranges the order of the alphabet to the way it is on a standard American keyboard. So A would become Q, B would be W, C would be E, and it just lays the alphabet over the keyboard. Translating this message reveals that this is just the lyrics to the song I'm singing.
Tell me what you really wanna know.
This is just a red herring, much to the annoyance of the detectives, but if they do figure this out, they will know how to figure out the UV paint code that comes later. So not a total waste. Taking a look at this clip, it is slow going on Mr. Eel here. You guys in my last live stream told me to make his skin yellow, and yellow is such a transparent color, so it's just layers on layers. But he is a very important character, so I gotta render him properly. Although if I did a bad job, I don't know if he would have much to say about it. When I'm talking about the eel, I say, although if I did a bad job, I don't know if he would have too much to say about it. We get another reference to the eel not talking. Maybe this is why he's always writing in his journal. Around the 8-minute mark, we have these little plastic toys sitting on the painting. Take a moment here to show you guys my painting setup. I just purchased a second one of these tables. They kind of look like newts. Interesting. Then jumping to this section where I'm applying UV paint to the ceiling tiles in the artwork. When you shine a UV light on them, they reveal a code. These UV letters on the ceiling are another QWERTY cipher, and once they're decoded, they reveal a message. 2 vessels draw the eye, one holds the answer, the other leads astray. Wow, okay, so we have 2 vessels. One is important, the other seems like maybe it could be a red herring. Okay, so looking at the art, we have the X bottle, that could be a vessel, a pill bottle, this cup, this goblet, this glass, this chum bucket. And then in Christianity, we're all vessels that can be filled up with Jesus's love. Also, a ship could be a vessel. We got this shipwreck over here. There's a lot of vessels, but a lot of clues have been pointing towards the goblet and the X bottle. So maybe those are the things we need to focus on. And perhaps one of them leads us astray. This is something to keep in mind. Here in the intro, we see this moment right here.
Bless Lou.
Oh, thank you. I sneeze, and Nick walks through the frame and says, bless Lou.
Bless Lou.
Mispronouncing the word you and exchanging it with the word slew. Later on, we see this moment.
It's been a little bit since we last spoke. How long have you been growing out the video? I mean beard.
Nick asked me how long I've been growing out the video.
How long you've been growing out the video?
And then he says, I mean beard.
I mean beard.
Once again, Nick misspeaks, swapping video for beard. Roughly 1 minute later, we see this. Nick enters the shot and tells me to keep painting on this bad collabajama.
As long as you just keep painting on this bad collabajama. Bad mamma-jamma, sorry.
Yeah.
Just get back to painting.
All right. So he misspeaks the word collab now. Finally, Nick ends this misspoken trail of breadcrumbs at the end of the video while doing my outro.
Hey, Pete.
Yeah?
I just wanted to apologize for all those times I misspoke this video.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty.
See you later.
See ya.
So we hear him say he's sorry for all the times he with doke instead of misspoke. If we take each incorrect word that Nick said and put them together, we get this. Slew video collab with doke. So Slew is an artist YouTuber who's a friend of mine, and he's doing a video collab with Doke. So if we check Slew's channel, in the uploads from around this time, we'll see he posted a video called I Painted a Mural in New York City with another YouTuber. Right here in the intro of this video, he's painting with another artist YouTuber named Doke.
Doke's out in New York City. It's kind of crazy. I'm just like, my boy Slew did it again.
Okay, so we got Slew video collab with Doke. If we jump forward about 10 minutes and 45 seconds into Slew's video, we see this.
Guys, it was an absolutely epic few days with Doke here at the studio in New York City. The podcast is...
Did you catch that? While Slew's talking, text in the background says, Rib grasses high 10. There it is again. This is a message detectives are all too familiar with at this point. The anagram for raise brightness. Okay, let's take a screenshot of this frame and raise the brightness. Nice. We can see down here we have something. This is some mirrored text that once flipped it says password is Tika. We got a password. Where does it go? Before we continue following that trail, there's a song in this video that deserves a closer listen.
Aaron, tell me who betrayed him. Vengeance, best of cold, I'm fancy when I played it.
You can hear me sing the line 12 apostles, at least one is misbehaving, and then the chorus echoes, but maybe two.
12 apostles, at least one is misbehaving.
Once again referencing that there could be two culprits.
And tell me what you really wanna know.
Then we hear me sing Ori Tika giving gifts of gold.
Ori Tika giving gifts of gold.
So we know from previous character cards that Ori is the antique dealer, and she gave the goblet to the heron, which is why the rabbit feels disrespected. And also coincidentally, we see a single frame during this line of a stuffed tiger sitting next to a golden goblet. So it could be that Ori Tika is actually the tiger.
Find it written in a secret note. Apothecary slang an antidote.
Then we hear me sing apothecary slinging antidotes. So at this point we know the rabbit owns the apothecary, and way back we had that clue about an antidote that was shown on the pictogram of the tablecloth saying antidote can save heron.
It goes over my head. And tell me what you really wanna know.
In this next line, this jealousy is fit to overflow when Aardvark turns against the antelope.
This jealousy is fit to overflow when Aardvark turns against the antelope.
Okay, so the Aardvark and the antelope are beefing. We just learned that Esther Harley Thompson is the Aardvark. She seems to be beefing with Easton, who is her twin, so perhaps the antelope is Easton. The final line I want to touch on is this one.
And Mr. Garber loves a bit of gold.
You can hear me sing, and Mr. Garber loves a bit of gold. Looking back at the character cards, we can see that the rabbit's last name is Garber. Again, probably referring to that golden goblet that he wanted. Very interesting. Okay, jumping back to that trail we were following, we see this. While I'm painting the eel, there's a board game called Upwards next to my hand. And what we've laid out on this board is a good old-fashioned word search. Looking closely, we can see the words 1000art.com/Detroit. Nice, we got a link. We go to that web page and are greeted with this image. This is the same image we saw from that one frame in the main video when I was singing that line about Ori Tika. Okay, looking at this web page, we also see this don't peek button, but we gotta peek. I mean, we're detectives after all. Clicking the button reveals the full-size image, and this is the original downloadable image file. Downloading the image and peeking further into the image's metadata, we're gonna find a description of the image that contains this link, 1000art.com/catalyst, another password protected page. But we found that password earlier in Slew's video, which is Tika. So after typing in Tika, we get the tiger's character card. Okay, so we're seeing here, the tiger is indeed Ori Tika. Nailed it. March 4th, 1995 is her birthday. 5'5", 149 pounds. Eye color unknown, because it's hidden behind those glasses. Known associates, Hollis maybe? I don't think we know who Hollis is yet. Jumping down to the notes, the detective says,
Ori is an art and antiques dealer.
Oh yeah, we had figured that one out.
She told me Alex really wanted the special and rare grail.
The goblet. Another word for goblet is grail. Way back on the tablecloth, we learned that the Holy Grail holds the key. Okay, back to the notes.
But Ori had other plans for the special vessel.
Oh, here we have that word vessel. There was a clue earlier about 2 vessels, and one of them leads us astray, and the other holds the answer. Interesting. Ori says,
once he sets his mind on something, he can't let it go. Alex is a bit obsessive. He once felt that same way for Salvador.
Okay, on the Heron's character card, we learned his name was Salvador. The detective says,
but the tiger gave the grail as a gift to the Heron and seems genuinely uninterested in all the drama it caused.
Ori says,
I am his beloved, and I lay my best treasures at his feet. We share a secret bond, you know.
This is also a nod to the fact that the tiger is in the position of the disciple John the Beloved. Next, Ori said,
it seems the gift I gave to the eel was the better gift in the end. I got it from the apothecary and gave it to Hollis, just in case.
Okay, interesting. The tiger is giving another gift to the eel, and based on what the tiger just said, it appears the eel's name is Hollis. Stuff is falling into place here, folks. Okay, let's jump forward to this Squarespace ad where we see a puppet show. About halfway through the show, Larry here expresses how hard it is to type as a turtle due to his lack of thumbs.
I don't know how to build a website. I mean, I got no thumbs. It's really hard to write HTML with these tiny turtle claws.
While saying this, he taps his claws on a keyboard. And while he types, we see some letters come flying off the keyboard. If you look closely at those letters, they come together to give a link. Looks like a YouTube link. Indeed, this link takes you to another unlisted YouTube video titled Home on the Range.
Home on the range, yeah. Wow, it's been a long day at work. I'm glad to be off, I'll tell you what. What am I gonna do with myself this evening? You know what, maybe I'll fire up the old YouTube. Now what have we here? My homepage, okay. Lots of good options here. Now wait a minute, what's this? 1000 Last Supper Part 6? Part 6, geez, seems like I might be jumping in the middle of something here, but let's give this a whirl. Okay, looks like he's painting, alright. Seems like an art channel, I can dig it. Now what in tarnation? What exactly am I looking at here? I am definitely confused. Is this a code or? Now what the hell kind of video is this? This has got to be the strangest YouTube video I've ever seen in all my days. That's it, I'm writing a letter to Susan right now. We've got to get this taken off the internet. Here I was thinking I was coming upon an art channel, and I get this hog swallowed. That's it, I'm switching to TikTok.
In this video, we see a bit of a country bumpkin coming home after a long day of work and watching some YouTube. Anyway, around the 15-second mark in this video, we get a shot of the YouTube homepage. If we zoom in closely, right here on this Toy Story 3 video, we can see that the title of the video has been cleverly edited. It looks like the title has been replaced with a link which reads 1000art.com/Bovaday. So in order to find the password, let's jump back to the main video. Immediately following the Squarespace puppet show, we see a colorful board game with a cone-shaped token gliding around the board. We actually achieve this effect by using a magnet under the board and taping a piece of metal to the bottom of the piece. The piece stops and pauses on spaces G12, E4, O13, B10, H1, L28, G26, and B17. No real discernible pattern here, and no additional clues were given, so it was up to the detectives to deduce their way through this puzzle. Although the puzzle seems quite difficult, the solution is actually quite simple. We gotta look at the spaces the token landed on, so let's start with G12. We take the row, in this instance G, then count the numbers, 12, and then we simply do G plus 12. HIJKLMNOPQRS. The letter is S. If we continue doing this for each space that the token lands on, we'll get the word siblings. Now, if we take siblings and enter it as the password on the page 1000art.com/Bovidae, we are rewarded with the Antelope's character card.
Yes!
All right, baby, here we have the Antelope, and it is indeed Easton. Easton Riley Thompson. Thompson is also the last name of the aardvark, so this has got to be the twin. Born September 28, 1993, 5'9", 100 kilograms, green eyes. I think Esther also had green eyes. Known associates, possibly Ori. The detective says,
After speaking with Easton, I realized how far apart he drifted from his twin. He spoke with us on this, saying,
I once had a close bond with them, but after Ori gave the heron the gift, I could just feel the jealousy running through Harley's veins. Okay, Easton, who is Esther's twin brother, calls Esther Harley. So I'm guessing this is one of those situations where she goes by her middle name on a day-to-day basis. If that's how her own brother is talking about her, that's gotta be the case. Easton continues, Harley has always been a little hot-headed and always wants to be seen as the best. The detective states,
I asked what caused the argument that night, to which he replied,
Once Alex took the grail, I knew this was Elwyn's work. Okay, so once the rabbit took the grail, I knew this was the baboon's work. The Antelope continues, I have no idea what she sees in him. After speaking up, Elwyn decided he had enough and motioned at me to come over and stop them. I am not a violent man, so I restrained myself, though I wish I would have grabbed that thing before all these horrible events happened. Drama! Okay, it seems like the antelope and the tiger are on one side, and the rabbit, baboon, and aardvark are on the other side. There's beef, the goblet, aka the grail, is involved. Twins are turning against each other. The boyfriend's in the mix. Straight up drama. Okay, we know who the antelope is now. Back to the video, around the 3.5 minute mark, we see a yellow hand writing in a journal. We actually edited the video so it would have yellow skin because this is supposed to be the eel writing in his journal, and the eel has yellow skin in the painting. The text in the journal reads, Esther took sides with Alex. Love of a brother was thrown aside. Insidious plans were formed. Night meetings in dark tunnels. Not just the nocturnals stay up at night. Ori didn't know it could lead to this. Everyone is searching for the answer. Now I sit pondering treacherous plans. That all seems to be relating to the story we're learning through these character cards. But additionally, if you take the first letter from each line on the eel's note, you reveal the hidden message, Elwyn Innocent. And since we found out earlier that the baboon's real name is Elwyn, we now know that the baboon did not betray the heron. Sick. So let's recap who's innocent. It wasn't the heron, wasn't the eel, the narwhal, the hammerhead, the antelope. Pretty sure it wasn't the cardinal. It wasn't the eagle, and now we know it wasn't the baboon. Wow, there's really only 5 characters left that it could be. We're making progress. Finally, the editor's log is visible for a short window of time on the paint cart right next to that avail key. Take it away, Nick.
Editor's log. Hello, YouTube. It's been quite some time since I've had the opportunity to write one of these, but I got the opportunity when Tenhun was out of the studio. Recently, things have taken a turn for the worse, and this painting seems to be manifesting itself into reality through Tenhun. Every day I look around the studio, and I see more objects from the painting appearing in the studio. The X bottle keeps appearing on my desk in the editing bay, and no matter where I put it, when I sit back down, it's back again. At this point, I've grown used to its eerie presence, but something is drawing me to drink it. I'll do all I can to resist these temptations. Editor Nick.
Yeah, so Nick's spooky editor's log is a reference to that unlisted video we found earlier. And I think that wraps things up for Last Supper Part 6.
The Last Supper Part 7.
The Last Supper 7. Now we're truly getting into the thick of it as the series nears its conclusion. This video actually came out 7 months after The Last Supper Part 6. I honestly just needed some time to work on other projects and videos, and this was also in the middle of me trying to fulfill my Vivid Kingdoms playing card Kickstarter, which at the time was the largest playing card Kickstarter of all time. I'm not sure if it still is, I haven't checked, but getting everyone their rewards was an insane year-long process, and to be honest, this Last Supper project was pretty overwhelming and turned into something much more in-depth than I expected. But after that hiatus, we came back swinging. We opened the video with a shot of a phone picking up, a reminder that we gotta remember a number is coming. as we learned in the book code from the buried cryptex in Branch, Michigan. Let's jump to the first code in this video. With the Last Supper. This has been quite the long wait. I am very sorry. There's been traveling, family stuff, the Vivid Kingdoms playing cards, and just generally other obligations. And this is not a painting that I wanted to just rush for the next YouTube video. I wanted to make sure that I took my time and felt good about the work that I was doing. We see a stack of shirts appearing on my workbench as I'm talking. These are all items that I sell on my website. And if you find each one on my website, you'll see each shirt has a name. Like this design right here is called Warrior Blossom. To reveal this puzzle's mystery, all you need to do is take the first letter of each design in order of which they appear and put them together. Stack 1, we have Power Glove, Astro Fox, Swag Pack, See the Stars, Warrior Blossom, Only Time Will Tell, Riding Hood's Revenge, Deconstructed. Stack 2 in the center, we have I'm Watching and Spray Cans. Stack 3 on the left, Ultra Mega, New Heights, Discover Paradise, Escaped Animals, Raw, Wide Eye, Animal Dancer, Thunderclap, Escaped Animals, Riding Hood's Revenge. So if you take the first letter from each of these, we get password is underwater. Okay, awesome. First code down and we have a password. Now, let's see where to enter this thing. Actually, this was the first code we did for this video after our long break, and I love our genuine reaction after we finished filming it.
Oh, we're back in it. We are back in it.
You could tell after our long break we were ready to jump back into the game. Okay, taking another step down this path leads us to painting section 1, where in this shot, hidden symbolism and secret subtext, that's just, you can see /syringe written on my shoe. Well, everything so far has been 1000art.com /something, so let's try 1000art.com /syringe. Yep, that worked, and we need a password. Let's try underwater that we got from the shirt code. Nice, that's the one. And now we see this image. This is a Rosetta Stone of sorts to help detectives translate an image or two they might find later. For instance, only a few moments before discovering the message on my shoe, you may have seen these symbols on my iPad in the background of this shot. Using our Rosetta Stone, we can translate the image to reveal 1000art.com /iconography. And once again, following this link produces a password protected page. Okay, next segment. Until the painting
So
is
how
done.
is the beard treating you?
You know, it's not my favorite, but I'll sulfur through it.
Have you given any thought to the final shave? Are you thinking a standard Schick, or maybe a Gillette, or maybe a premium branded Japanese chromium blade? Have you given any thought to your post-shave skincare? How much weight do you give the claims that an iodine skin treatment is the best option after a shave?
You know, Harold,
I personally use a beryllium blade and it's quite life-changing.
While Harold is interviewing me, you can see me pronounce the word suffer in a way that sounds much closer to sulfur. I'll sulfur through it. And a mere moment later, Harold brings up using a chromium blade to shave, followed by remarks of an iodine post-shave treatment, and finishing off by saying he uses a beryllium blade. All of these big fancy words are elements on the periodic table. So let's take a look at the abbreviated icon used to portray them. Sulfur is S, chromium is CR, iodine is I, beryllium is BE. Put those letters and you get the word scribe. Well, more specifically, capital S, capital C, lowercase r, capital I, capital B, lowercase e. I only mention that because this use of capitalization, which mimics the periodic table, is needed for the password to work. But once you've figured out the correct way to capitalize each letter, you're rewarded with the EELS character card. Alright, the EEL's real name is Hollis Charles Anguille. We've heard Hollis mentioned before. The tiger mentioned Hollis, and she said she gave him an important gift. His birthday is May 3rd, 89, height 5'7", weight 169.4 pounds. Wow, is that the first time we've seen a decimal on the weight? Eye color hazel, special features mute. We keep getting references to the eel not talking. There's this Polaroid here. It looks like a Polaroid of his journal. It looks like it reads, "The tearing of the twins is just where it begins, with flourish and a grin, a chalice filled with sin. Coney con, brought on with sister's son, and when the deed is done, the heron will be gone." All right, jumping down to the notes, the detective says,
Hollis was very stoic in nature. I just thought he didn't want to talk about the traumatic events he went through, until I realized after some awkward moments that he's mute.
Okay, the eel does not talk, can't talk. The detective says
he writes obsessively in his journal in a sort of cryptic shorthand which can mystify any reader besides himself.
Kind of sounds like how Leonardo da Vinci's journals were. The detective goes on.
I think he uses this method of writing as a safeguard against any would-be onlookers. I asked to look at some of his journaling, and he warily slid the thick volume across the table. The following are some of the excerpts I was able to glean from my quick glances.
Okay, this is from the journal.
Her gift, the quick jabber to save the king. Orange, of course, like a tiger. The color of mystery. And this time, the color of life. If he's dragged down by the whispers in the catacombs, I can bring him back to the surface.
Kind of sounds like the tiger gave the eel something to save the heron. Possibly the antidote we've been learning about. And then we have a little note here about X.
X is a smokescreen. Innocent X. A vessel to contain the mundane. Deflector, scapegoat in a china shop. Let the clatter hide the whispers. Apothecary.
Okay, so the X bottle is a smokescreen. It's a scapegoat in a china shop. Usually that phrase goes bull in a china shop. So the X bottle is next to the bull, but the bull is a scapegoat. And maybe the culprits are trying to use it as a smokescreen for what's really going on. Very interesting. Then we have
uncle, aunt, nephew, aunt, uncle, auntie, aunt, auntie, antidote, nephew, antidote, uncle, aunt, auntie, nephew.
And this just kind of kept going on like this for a whole page.
Okay, we know uncles and nephews are important. Aunt can be pronounced as aunt, like antidote. Very interesting.
Then I saw a page with the Eye of Horus drawn on it, and it said
150 milliliters of whiskey, July 9th.
Wow, 150 milliliters of whiskey, July 9th. If we remember all the way back to the eel's journal, he mentioned hearing two words, 1979, arrest. Now we have two more phrases, 150 milliliters of whiskey, July 9th. If we search those four things together, we're gonna get something interesting, but let's wait just a second and finish off this character card.
I asked if I could hang on to the journal to review some more of the notes. Hollis became very alarmed and rigorously shook his head. He snatched the journal from across the table. I know if I could spend more time with that journal, somewhere in those strange pages are all the answers I need.
All right, Hollis, the mysterious journal keeper, seems to have a large role in this mystery, and he's got a lot of things figured out. I think he could potentially save the heron, but let's jump back to those four phrases. From the original eel's note, arrest, 1979. From this eel character card, 150 milliliters of whiskey, and July 9th. If we pop that into Google, the first result that comes up is a fatal poisoning from the Oregon rough-skinned newt. This appears to be a medical journal article of some sort. Certain newts possess a neurotoxin that can be fatal if ingested. Let's jump down here to case one. A 29-year-old man drank approximately 150 milliliters of whiskey at about 11 a.m., July 9, 1979. Okay, we have 150 milliliters of whiskey here, which is what the eel talked about, 1979. At 6 p.m., he swallowed a 20-centimeter newt on a dare. Within 10 minutes, he complained of tingling of the lips. During the next 2 hours, he began complaining of numbness and weakness and stated that he thought he was going to die. He refused to be transported to a hospital and was left alone for 15 minutes and then experienced cardiopulmonary arrest. Oh, there's arrest. We could read the full text, but this is pretty clear. This man was killed by a rough-skinned newt. The newt is holding a rough-skinned newt over the goblet. This could be it. This could be it. I think we have a strong theory in place here of who betrayed the heron. Okay, back to the main video. Let's rewind a little bit and go back to the first painting montages. We see this.
Hopefully an epic painting that I can be super proud of.
You can see in this top-down shot, there's a Mexican army cipher with a key pointing to the column P13 37 74 85. This is a great piece of information, but we gotta know how a Mexican Army cipher works. Well, once you have the key lined up, any number that's in a column of a particular letter equals that letter. So for instance, if we wanted the letter H, we could use the number 5, 29, 66. If we wanted the letter Z, we could use 23, 47, 58, 95. Once you have the Mexican Army cipher lined up, it's pretty easy to decode. Okay, next we jump to this hint. There's just one frame at 8 minutes and 23 seconds. Find paradise. And that makes no sense. Seems like a red herring. Except what you may not have noticed is that throughout the whole video, in the background of shots, hidden and tucked away are a pair of dice. Find pair of dice. But there's another message hidden in this frame, conveniently placed right under the YouTube progress bar that pops up when you pause a video on YouTube. In the bottom left corner, you can faintly see top times 6 plus bottom. So this is the formula to solve the dice code. So as an example, if the top die says 4 and the bottom one says 2, the answer would be 26, because 4 times 6 equals 24, plus 2 is 26. This tiny piece of information makes the rest of this path viable. Without it, you're like Ash Ketchum, blocked by a tiny tree, and you don't have a Pokemon in your roster that knows the move Cut. You're sure you can squeeze past this tiny tree, but no, you're stuck. Now, equipped with this formula on how to solve the dice, let's scrub through the video and see what dice we can find. There are 13 shots of dice hidden in this video. Okay, let's see. There's a couple there, and there, right here. Ooh, this one's sneaky. Right there, 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 there. Oh, that's another hard one. And there. Looks like we found all the dice. Also, a key thing to note here is that with the placement of the final set of dice, we did put this 32 above them. So hopefully the detectives figured out that this set equals 32. And maybe they could reverse engineer the equation by working backwards from the answer. But alas, the detectives had a really hard time with this puzzle. So I decided to drop some hints on the Cardinal on Video Twitter account. First, I tweeted, find pair dice. It's the repeated phrase from that single frame, but this time I separated the text to make it even more obvious what we were saying. Next, I tweeted K, 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 K. We have 4 Ks, which means the detective should be watching the Last Supper videos with 4K video playback to be able to see the tiniest details. Then 4 days later, I tweeted this long string of numbers. Using the Mexican Army cipher, this decodes to say, one single frame can hold more secrets than you think. Behind progress is sight. Trying to guide them to that one single frame that says find paradise and realize that behind the YouTube progress bar is what they're looking for. Behind progress is sight. If they just pause the video on YouTube, the hint is going to be covered by that playhead. They need to either rip the video or figure out a better way to get that screenshot. My next hint is that I tweeted this Google extension that allows you to download full-res screenshots from YouTube videos. So that progress bar won't be there and you'll get a clean shot. So now that we all figured out how to use the dice, we got to take these numbers and plug them into the Mexican Army cipher. And the decoded message reads, Alberti P over K. Alberti is another kind of cipher. Similar in looks to the Mexican Army cipher, but quite different in function. I'm going to skip the tutorial on how an Alberti cipher works because this video is already over 2 hours long, but there's some YouTube videos out there if you want to know how this thing works. But even with that information, we need to know where to look to find the next stepping stone on this path, and you need not look further than this clip right here. All of a sudden the day is completely gone and I've been painting from like 5 p.m. till 3 a.m. I think that's something that a lot of artists can relate to, whether you're doing. In this shot, you can see a piece of paper taped up in front of the spray cans. On top of that poster is 3 symbols: a speaker, a frying pan, and the letter L. Speaker is a symbol of sound, so sound, pan, L. Sound, pan, L. Sound panel. And looking at the sound panel in these shots, you can see that there's something there. Zooming in and playing with the old Ribgrass's High 10 feature, you can reveal the editor's log. Take it away, Nick.
Editor's log. Hello, YouTube. It's been quite some time since I've written to you, and I thought I may not have to write again as life in the studio returned to normal. But as soon as Peter began painting the Last Supper again, things changed fast. The other day, he asked me to clean the studio when I got into work. I saw the studio computer was logged into another secret page, and the table was covered in weird memorization cards or something. The studio was a mess, and there were these strange glyphs shining in a dark corner. No idea what that's about. Needless to say, it took me hours to clean. I just hope that he finishes this painting soon, so then life can return to normal. Editor Nick.
If we look very carefully at the editor's log, we can see some specific characters were bold and italicized. We have this R, this E, this D, W, there's an N there. If we take all these letters, we get /Red Wing. Using this information to go to 1000art.com /Red Wing, we're blocked by a password. This password can be found in the short segment immediately following Beard Watch. In this segment, we see my hands adjusting a line of cards featuring the flags of countries. If you take the first letter from each country, you'll get Drebla, and that most certainly is not a word. But once you realize the camera is filming all this through a mirror and that the order needs to be reversed to get the word, you get halberd, which definitely is a word. It's a kind of axe-like weapon, similar to the one you see the cardinal holding right here. It also happens to be the password for the Red Wing page. Once you unlock that page, you're granted access to another unlisted video. Around the 1 minute mark, Nick cleans a mirror, and when he walks out of the shot, you can see a pointer pointing at the letter K right here on the wall behind him. This is a reference to the Alberti P/K we talked about a few minutes ago. About 10 seconds later, Nick begins organizing some prints, and one in particular has a strange combination of letters on it. Using the Alberti cipher and setting the key to P/K, we can eventually solve this string of letters to reveal the message, "Unlock with Ishmael." A few moments later, Nick begins to vacuum, and behind him on the wall is another set of icons, and once translated, points to 1000art.com /Batista. We have Unlock with Ishmael, so if we try that for the password, we get the Cardinal's character card. Okay, the Cardinal's real name is Randall Ishmael Scarlett, born April 20, 1962, 420 baby. 5'9", 180 pounds, eyes are yellow. Known associates, Issa Arvida and Francis Endo. Down in the notes, the detective says,
when questioned on the purpose for bringing the axe, he stated, "I was trying to prevent this whole mess from happening. Francis told me what that dick had planned."
Dick is short for Richard. The rabbit's middle name is Richard. We don't know who Francis is yet. The Cardinal continued,
"So I brought my axe to stop him. But you know how that pushover can never say no to family. So he threatened to expose us if we tried to stop them."
The detective says,
when questioned about his relationship with all the other dinner guests, Randall told us almost everything he knew about them. He mentioned that most of them have an old school view on some things. There are things about himself he thinks they would not accept, and he can't be completely true to himself around them. When I breached the subject of Issa,
we learned way back that Issa is the hammerhead.
The Cardinal got very tense and short with us when the Hammerhead's name came up.
If we remember back to the Hammerhead's character card, he was also very nervous when talking about a relationship. Back to the Cardinal's card, the detective said,
"What secret were they hiding?" When Issa was questioned about a relationship, he got very tense too. Could Randall and Issa be in a secret relationship? Is this what others would not accept? Is this what Francis threatened to expose?
So this character Francis told the Cardinal about the plot, and the Cardinal wanted to stop it, but Francis blackmailed the Cardinal by threatening to expose his secrets that would get him ostracized by the rest of the group. The detective concludes by saying,
"Things are starting to fall into place, and I am really feeling like I'm just a few steps away from figuring this thing out.
You and me both, detective. Let's jump back to the video. Roughly 6.5 minutes into the video, while I'm driving my car, we see this. Some short little, jolly quick little read. They are long books, and I've listened to every single one of them while working on The Last Supper. I need to find a new book series to sink my teeth into. Did you catch it? As the camera jiggles for a few frames in the back seat of my truck is a notebook. Written on the page is 1000art.com/babble. Following this page shows you the following message. You are reading page 322 of volume 10 on shelf 3 of wall 4 of Hexagon, and then it gives this hex name and an incredibly long string of characters. Now, what the heck does that even mean? Well, if we do a Google search of the first line of text, you see the top few results point us to a website titled The Library of Babel. Now, you'll most likely see that there's a text box asking for a hex name, which we were just so lucky to have been given on that website. If we copy the hex name, paste it into the Library of Babel, following the cues and inputting all the proper information, this will take you to a page of text filled mostly with complete nonsense. But smack dab right in the middle of this page is the line, "You will be called upon to give testimony. Say true, and you will be rewarded. Ring, ring. Leave a message after the beep." We're starting to get a little bit more obvious about the fact that the detectives are going to have to call in to a secret phone number and answer some questions when they reach the end game. Now, there's no more long and twisting paths in this video, but there are a few more clues hidden. At the 8-minute mark, we hear a clear instance of reversed audio. If you extract this audio and reverse it to hear what's being said, you reveal the message, "You thought you found something. This is the end game. You're going to have to work harder than that. Keep looking." That's because at this point in the game, reversed audio is far too easy. After finding that juicy red herring, let's move on to this interesting section right here. In this section, there are a few clips that overlay and interweave with each other, but we can see one common thing going on. The first clip is a scale going up, the next is someone placing weights on a judicial scale, the last is a clip of someone weighing ingredients on a kitchen scale. We're gonna need to look into weight or weights or scales to solve something. We're definitely gonna be coming back to this. Next up, a little bit before the 14-minute mark, I explained my excitement for new brushes I ordered. I have been scraping the bottom of the barrel with my junky, nasty brushes, and I went ahead and splurged and treated myself and ordered a bunch of these super high quality Trekell brushes. I'm not sponsored by them, I'm just excited, but now I have just a freaking... While doing so, there's a spray paint cap that keeps hopping around this cutting mat on the table next to me. If you note the locations of where the cap lands, it's row 1, column 1, row 2, column 3, row 1, column 1, and so on and so forth for 10 more moves. Now, taking the number of the row and the number of the column and multiplying them gives each spot a certain value. If we correlate that value to its alphabetical match, we find the spray cap is sending us a message. It spells out, "A family affair." This clue tells detectives that there's some sort of familial tie related to the incident. A good clue, because so far as we know, there's only 4 characters that have family members at the table. There's the rabbit and his nephew, and there's the twins. Now, a few moments later, we see this clip. Should I take it as a sign to go home with the fact that I've started to name the oranges? Like, this one's Oscar the orange, that one's Garber the grapefruit, Timmy Tangerine over there. I think it's time to go home. As I'm talking about my delusions of naming the fruit, I say Oscar the orange and Garber the grapefruit. We know the rabbit is named Alex Richard Garber, but I don't believe we've seen this name Oscar yet, so let's keep that in mind. And that's The Last Supper Part 7. Let's move on to the conclusion of this epic series.
The Last Supper Part 8.
Here we are at the final video. At least the final video that involved clues and codes. There is one more video after this, The Last Supper Part 9, that shows the detectives competing to win the prize. But this one contains the last pieces of our elaborate puzzle. Jumping into the episode, the first shot after the recap shows me driving in my truck. Now if we look closely, visible in the back seat is a light bright displaying the number 3 with 4 dots above it. Interesting. Let's go through the rest of the video and see if we can find something like this anywhere else. It turns out there's shots of this light bright hidden all over the place. We see a shot of Nick sitting in the editing bay, where we see the light bright again, except this time it's displaying the number 1 with 2 dots above it. All right, let's see where else we can find this thing. Okay, we got one here, there. Ooh, almost missed that one. Another one right there. Wow, that one goes by quick. Here's one right there. Ooh, that one there. Okay. Looks like we got them all. But now we need to know what these mean. In order to solve this one, you have to pay attention to this clip. I have just 3 characters left. 3! T-H-R-E-E. As I said the number 3, we see text on screen appear that says the numeral 3. Then strangely, I spell out the word T-H-R-E-E. And as I say each letter, text appears on screen right along with them. This text has little circles around each letter. They're almost like dots. Believe it or not, this shows you the solution to the puzzle. Each letter in the word 3 is a dot. The first dot is the first letter, T. The second dot is the second letter, H. Third dot, R. Fourth dot, E. Fifth dot, E. So the dots represent the letter in the spelling of the number. Here's another example. Let's say the light bright had 4 with 2 dots above it. If we spell out the number 4, F-O-U-R, and there are 2 dots, the second letter in 4 is O. So the number 4 with 2 dots above it actually represents the letter O. So using this knowledge, we can figure out all these individual light brights and we get this string of text. Enter with this word resolution. Awesome. Looks like we got a password. Now we gotta find where it goes. If we jump to just before I start painting, we see this. I've been able to save the best for last. While adding paint to my palette, you can see the upwards board with what looks like random letters on it. We have UOCTM, RXISNDZ. That makes no sense, but it does appear that all these letters are in stacks of varying heights. And these stacks are how we figure this code out. Let's take this stack for instance. This letter R is on top of a stack that's 4 tiles high. R is the first tile with 3 more tiles underneath it. If we go backwards from R, the next tile down would be Q, the next one down would be P, the one on the bottom would be O. This pile actually represents the letter O because R minus the pile of 3 below it is O. When you repeat this method for every stack of the letter tiles, you get this message, /overlay. Okay, so at this point, we gotta assume that it's 1000art.com/overlay. Let's follow this link and see what we get. Another password protected page. But we already know the light bright puzzle told us enter with this word resolution. So if we type in resolution, we unlock the page and find an unlisted video titled reflection. All these words we've been getting so far, reflection, resolution, overlay, are a hint of what's to come and what we're gonna need to do. Anyway, let's check out this unlisted video. It's so crazy to actually be signing this. This is like a kind of crazy. It's like a big moment.
How does it feel?
It's like bittersweet, surreal, man. This project has just been, it's just been there for like a year. It's just, it'll be nice to have the fans stop commenting like, where's the Last Supper? But yeah, this is a trip. The video opens with me finishing up my signature on the piece, while just off the edge of my workbench is a chess table with pieces in seemingly random places. But really they're not random at all. By taking the chessboard and splitting it up into sections like this, we can see that we have 6 sections containing 6 squares. The placement of these pieces within these sections represent the demarcations used when writing Braille. For instance, when the video opens, we see the board with pieces marked like so. Taking these pieces and translating their position from Braille, we can see the board displays key is. Then when the camera cuts away to that second shot of Nick and I, the chessboard is no longer visible. But when it returns to the close-up shot of my signature, the placement of the pieces has changed. And now we can use Braille to translate these to FIF and T. Then it cycles the shots again and now shows YFI and F. Repeat the process one more time and we get TY. If we put all that together, we get the message, key is 50-50. Now let's hang on to that for a while because we need to go back to the main video. Just after 8 minutes into the video, we get this sequence. We're shown a sequence of shots where I draw one of my go-to characters, the Watcher. Each line drawn gets its own cut in the video, accompanied by a musical note. If you count these individual cuts up, you might notice there are 26 in total. A simple 1-to-1 alignment to the alphabet gives us a new type of glyph system. This becomes useful about 3 minutes later when we see this. As you can see, we have a sequence of images all containing sets of partially drawn watchers, along with some rather dissonant chords of music. That's because these chords were made up of individual notes associated with each cut in the previous segment. So now, using our super detective skills, we can see that these images and musical tones translate to, say, 1000art.com/transparent. In all honesty, the musical notes were not necessary at all, but it sounded super cool and creepy, and I always love an excuse to play my synthesizer. Okay, so entering that key of 50/50 we got earlier on 1000art.com/transparent unlocks the page and shows us 5 frames from the video. Side note, transparent and 50/50 are also hints for later. If you download these images, you'll see that they have some very interesting names. In fact, these names give us a message. The first one is called To Find the Page. The next one is called 1000art.com after the slash. The next one is called Enter the First Letter from Each City. The next one is called Followed by 10 Huns. The final one is called Score for the Game. Okay, so it looks like we need to find some cities and also a game score. The cities and score can be found by looking in the YouTube video description. It looks like right here we have a link to a GeoGuessr game titled Seek. Detectives can play along to the same game that I played previously and possibly beat my score. As you play the game, you see that each round gives you a specific location the player must guess. In round 1, we can see that the city is Calama in Chile. Round 2, we have Gaye in Sri Lanka. Round 3, we have Macapá in Brazil. Round 4, we have Istanbul, Turkey. Round 5, we have Kansas City in the United States. So according to the clue we got earlier, we take the letter C from Calama, G from Gaye, M from Macapá, I from Istanbul, K from Kansas City, and now we gotta check my score. Looks like I got 17,631. So if we type out 1000art.com/CGMIK 17631, we see this page. Now we gotta find the password. During the Beard Watch segment, you may notice a ticker at the bottom with text scrolling by. Most of it's just inside jokes and dumb stuff, but if you wait a little bit, you'll see something a bit more interesting scroll by. We see this. Breaking news. A riddle holds the key. What is 3/5 child, 2/5 camel, and 2/8 goldfish? You can pause the video right here and try to figure it out. 3, 2, 1. Okay, here comes the answer. If you take 3/5 of the word child, which is the first 3 letters out of the 5 letters used to spell child, you get CHI. 2/5 of camel is CA. 2/8 of goldfish is GO. CHICAGO. Chicago. That's the answer. Entering Chicago as the password on our locked web page, we see a photo of a mural with a concept overlaid on the wall. There's another hint towards overlay, transparency, and all that stuff we talked about earlier. Scrolling down, we see a large blank space, and then at the bottom we find the word click. This is a clue to click on the image in order to get a full high-res version. Once we do that, we can download it and look at the metadata, and we see in the description, no need to break down the door with a weapon. Just use the key. Just use the key. Let's take a closer look at this image. If we look at what the character on the right is holding, we can see a string with a key on it. Zooming in on this key, we see that the word limitless is hidden right there on the key. Okay, great. In order to find out what's the meaning of this limitless word, we actually have to backtrack a few steps to when we were viewing 1000art.com/transparent. This was the page with those still screenshots from the video. If we compare these still frames to the actual video, we find that the moment in which each of these frames line up with the video, they were taken when I am saying the words,
I think so. At least 10.
10.
It's been 100 years
100
working on this art.
Art.
And I'm just taking my machete and I just slash.
Come on, machete. We clearly have another link going here. So heading to 1000art.com/machete and entering the word limitless shows us there's a whole second version to the Last Supper Part 8? Holy cow. There's a second. We have Last Supper 8 version 2? Okay, hold on a minute. Before we dive into that, there's a few more things we need to find before we hop into the alternate version of this video. During the Squarespace segment, I'm demonstrating how easy it is to create new pages on Squarespace, and I create a new page called See Clear. Then, as the aardvark character says the word password, for a few frames, the word fidelity can be seen near the bottom left corner of the screen. So if we go to 1000art.com/see clear and enter the password fidelity, we see an image of two magnifying glasses with a reduced opacity overlaid on top of each other. This is a clue that you may need to do some sort of image overlapping. We have been hinting at transparency, reflection, overlay, 50-50. Anyway, on this page, below the photo, is a button labeled Seek Find. Clicking this takes you to a web page to download the 4K video downloader application. This is a tool you can use to download videos from YouTube. This could be a handy tool for detectives coming up shortly. Now there's one more thing you may have noticed with this video, as well as the unlisted video too. We're gonna have to put a pin in that, and we'll come back to it in just a moment, but for now we have everything we need to move forward on to the Last Supper 8 version 2.
Last Supper Part 8 version 2.
Okay, so here we are back at 1000art.com/machete. Let's check out the Last Supper 8 version 2. As we start watching the video, if you play them side by side, the videos appear to be identical. However, once we get past the recap and I start talking to the camera, you'll notice that there are some differences between the two versions. In this first shot, you can see in the background is another version of the light bright puzzle from earlier. When we were making the Last Supper Part 8, we had to film everything involving a clue twice. We had to shoot it once for the Last Supper Part 8 version 1 and once for the Last Supper Part 8 version 2. It was a lot of fun, but also double the work. Anyway, let's watch through and see what other letters we can find from this light bright. We see W, this one's I, this one's T, that's an H, T, H, E, W, O, R, D, that's an R, I, N, G, E, R, Y, O, U, E, N, T, E, R. Okay, putting all those together, we get, with the word ringer, you enter. Ringer. Okay, good to know. In version 2, once again, before painting section 1, as I pour paint onto my palette, the upwards board is visible. However, this time around, there's no stacks of tiles, but instead at the top of each column are laid out several dice. If there's any D&D fans watching this right now, you might recognize the first one is a 10-sided die, then an 8-sided die, then a D20, a D6, a D4, a D10, and a D12. Then beneath them, spread across the board, are letters. Laid out in this order, they appear to make no sense. But if we take the letter and count past that letter by the number of the sides of the die on the column that it's on, we get the actual letter it's supposed to be. For instance, the first letter appears to be an I, and the die has 10 sides. Okay, 10 letters past I is S. So we take each letter and add the die, and we get this message, /synchronize. All right. So we have 1000art.com/synchronize, which is another password protected page. But the light bright code from earlier told us with the word ringer you enter. Let's use ringer as the password and boom. This gives us the Newt's character card. And with this, we've collected all the character cards. Let's go! Okay, what does this thing say? The Newt's name is Francis Oscar Endo. Oh, there's that Oscar name we saw earlier with that citrus clue. This one's Oscar the Orange. He was born June 18, 1990, 5'10", 101 kilograms. Eye color orange. Known associates are Randall and an uncle. Jumping into the notes, the detective says,
I sat down with Francis and barely said a word, and he already seemed almost in tears. He blurted out,
"My uncle wanted it. He was willing to get it no matter what the damage. He kept pressuring me to use the tetrodotoxin. I didn't want to. I swear I didn't want to. But I'm his apprentice at the apothecary he owns. I really needed that job, and he is my uncle. It's so hard to say no to your boss, let alone when that boss is also your family."
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Newt has to be the nephew of the rabbit. He works at his apothecary, and tetrodotoxin is the poison found in rough-skinned newts. The newt continues by saying,
I was so scared, so I shared the secret plan with my best friend Randall.
We know Randall is the cardinal.
I just needed someone I could trust. But then Randall said he was going to tell everyone. My uncle said I would be next if I told a soul. I couldn't have this come back to me. I never wanted any of this to happen. So right when I got to dinner, I told Randall I would expose him and tell everyone about his secret affair with Issa.
Secret relationship confirmed. Issa is the hammerhead. Randall is the cardinal. They are in a secret relationship that the rest of these people at the dinner party might not approve of. So the newt was saying, don't tell my secret or I'm going to tell yours. The newt continues by saying,
that would ruin him. Everyone in this group thinks they're so holy. Both Randall and Issa would be completely disowned, and this family is all they've ever known.
So it appears this little religious community here doesn't take too kindly to same-sex relationships. The newt continues,
I hate that I did that to my best friend. I hate all of this. I didn't want to do it. Uncle said, it's as simple as taking one of your little friends and let him go swimming for a bit. That's all I need you to do, and then it's mine. I didn't want to do it. I swear. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the rabbit wanted the grail, hated the heron because the heron got the grail. He convinced his nephew to drop a poisonous newt in the golden goblet, thus poisoning the heron. The cardinal found out about this whole plan and was gonna expose it, but his mouth was being held shut by the fact that his secret might be exposed at the same time. The tiger, who's the antiques dealer, also knew what was going on and gave the eel a secret antidote to hopefully be able to save the heron from the newt's poisoning. We now know that it's gotta be the rabbit and the newt who betrayed the heron. Oh my gosh, we've come so far. We figured it out. If you see this little red pencil scribble of this symbol right here, that's the same drawing as the shape of the newt's eye. And we also see this same symbol on the stuffed pink bunny that's sitting below the table. It has a drawing of the newt's eye on it as well, showing that the rabbit and the newt have a connection. Remember way back in the concept art phase, we saw that code that spelled watch JC, and the heron's watch had the hour hand pointing towards the 9 and the minute hand pointing towards the 11. Well, the 9th character is the rabbit, the 11th character is the newt. It's all coming together, baby. This is our Kaiser Soze moment. There's also little newts hiding here, here, and here. The natural predator of a heron is a raccoon, and the raccoon is right next to the newt. Wow, okay. And now we gotta remember back to Last Supper Part 7 when we saw that montage of those clips of scales and weights. If we take all of these character cards that we've collected and we look at the weights of each character, you might notice that some are measured in kilograms while others are measured in pounds. Some have decimals and some do not. Well, this was a trick we had to employ in order to be able to achieve hiding the next clue by taking the numbers contained in each character's weight and adding them all together, then taking that total number and correlating it to the alphabetical match. This gives each character a specific letter. If we were to place those letters above the character's head, we would see the message newt and rabbit. Another clue pointing towards the two guilty characters. These are the two shadows that the eel saw down in the catacombs. This is the conspiracy of two, and that's not the only piece of information we can gather from the character cards. By placing the initials of each character above their head and reading them backwards from right to left, you can see this message: a desire of the grail leads to treacherous plan. Or, well, there is one L missing. You have to combine the L in the word grail and use the same L for the word leads. By the time we noticed this, that we were short one letter, we had already released some character cards and we couldn't change it. But it still gets the message across loud and clear that the other vessel that causes all these issues is the grail, not the X bottle. The jealousy that the rabbit felt, the disrespect he felt from the tiger, the hatred that was growing inside of him towards the heron. This grail was the straw that broke the camel's back. The rabbit needed it. He deserved it. Why should the heron get everything special? So he convinced his pushover nephew to drop a poisonous newt in the holy grail and betray the heron. Good job, everyone. We've done it. Sherlock Holmes in the building. It's like the end of Knives Out in here. Agatha Christie would be proud. We've done it, everyone. Pat yourself on the back. It was the rabbit and the newt. Pack it up, boys. We're going home. But we aren't done yet. No, we aren't done yet. We've gathered all the character cards, we've deduced what happened, but for the detectives playing, the next part was the most important puzzle of all. I said earlier that I left some things out of The Last Supper Part 8 version 1, and that unlisted video. So now let's take a look at what we skipped. We see in each video a blatant overlay of strange symbols and lines appear on screen for a brief period of time. Looking at them, they seem like they almost make sense, or seem somewhat familiar, but it's hard to determine what they're supposed to be, and they mostly look like random scribbles. Looking back at all the clues from The Last Supper 8 and the unlisted video reflection, we see that all the URLs and passwords and hints seem to be focused on transparency and overlayment and layering images. So using the 4K video downloader, let's download the videos and lay them on top of each other and lower the opacity so all three are visible at once. As we play through the video, something pops up in all three videos at 1 minute and 32 seconds. Look at that. All those random scribbles seem to line up perfectly. That's why they were so hard to make out. They were three separate pieces of one image. It appears to be text saying +1. As we continue playing through the video, at 4 minutes and 20 seconds, the strange scribbles seem to line up again. This time, it looks like the numbers 269 are visible. So we have +1, 269. Jumping forward to 9 minutes and 47 seconds, you can see what looks like 363. And lastly, at 14 minutes and 19 seconds, the scribbles line up to form the numbers 2446. Putting them all together, we get an American phone number, +1 269 363 2446. By the way, this phone number is no longer associated with me in any way. Please don't call it in case this number has been given to someone else. Thank you. So at the time of this game, calling this number, you would be greeted with the following voice message.
Hello, Pentamerous Bell. Your knowledge has brought you so far. Are you ready to go to the final round? Tell us, who betrayed the heron? Email your findings to @gmail.com. The studious shall prevail. Good luck.
After hearing that message and sending an email to the address listed in the voicemail, the detectives who gave the correct answer of who betrayed the heron became the finalists in this game. And upon finding that phone number and calling in, that's it for The Last Supper 8. The Last Supper 8 represents the conclusion of all the puzzles and codes, and thus the end of my deep dive to reveal all the secrets this game held. But let's take a quick look at The Last Supper 9 to meet the amazing detectives who actually figured it out and made it all the way to the end, and also find out who won the whole game. You guys might be confused even after watching this thing. These detectives did it all on their own.
The Last Supper Part 9.
In The Last Supper 9, I did all the finishing tasks for the artwork. I needed to varnish, get the art scanned, make prints, turn this into a jigsaw puzzle, and a whole lot more. But the part we're concerned with in this video is the final competition and seeing who won the game. Throughout the whole series, we were hinting at the Pentamerous Bells, aka the 5 finalists that would call in to compete for the painting. What I didn't know is that in the end, only 4 detectives would find the phone number and make it to the end. You see, as this series moved into the end game, I saw some of the best detectives who were solving the puzzles time and time again the whole time drop off the Discord and leave the Reddit thread. They had gone into dark mode because they realized it was time to stop sharing answers with the more casual detectives and play just for themselves to try and win the painting. So there were 4 people who made it, and 2 of them were playing as a team. So really in the end, we had 3 finalists, which seems fitting. The recurring use of the number 3. All of the 12 disciples are in small groups of 3. There's 3 big windows in the background of the painting, and your boy Jesus looks like a straight up triangle. Okay, let's jump to this clip and see the rules of the final game. So here's the ground rules. They're all gonna get asked the same questions. They have 30 seconds to answer each question. I know some of them worked as a group this whole time, and they can still participate as a group if they want to. Whoever gets the most questions right wins the painting. Okay, so now that we know the rules, let's watch Belganath, Junivo, and the duo of Hamburger and Dwarfer compete to win it all. For those who saw this video when it released, you may have been very confused by these sections. But hopefully after watching this breakdown, you can now play at home and try and answer these questions right along with the finalists.
Welcome to Pentamerous Bells, the game show of sorts where you can win the Last Supper. Are you ready?
I think so.
I'll try my best, but let's see.
First question, which character uses a journal to communicate and why?
Hollis.
The eel.
And why?
Because he's mute.
Mute.
The eel, because he's mute.
The eel uses a journal to communicate because he's mute.
That is correct. Good job. Which characters are related? Like family blood related?
That's Easton Riley Thompson and Esther Harley Thompson. They're twins.
And
Rabbit and the Newt.
yeah.
Okay, so that is the antelope and the aardvark, which are twins. And I guess if you say related, family related, it would also be the rabbit and the newt, as they are uncle-nephew relationship.
Okay, family blood related, we have the antelope and the aardvark. They are twins.
Final answer?
Blood related, yes.
That is half correct. The newt and the rabbit are also uncle and nephew. Here's one for you. What periodic elements were used to discover the eel's character card?
Sulfur.
I believe chromium.
Iodine and beryllium.
That is correct. Good job.
The detectives were doing well so far. Only one question answered half correct. Let's jump to the next section and see how the competition develops.
There was an argument over gifts. One of the gifts was the Grail. What was the other gift mentioned?
I remember a report talking about fish.
Fish.
There's two fish
Mm-hmm.
as gifts. One was given, one wasn't.
I mean, there were several gifts mentioned, but there was a conflict between two vessels, I believe. So I would say that was the X bottle again.
Okay. We're gonna have the judges review that one for later, because that's not exactly what we had. The tensions are rising. Do you guys feel it? You feel the tension? Who is the author of The 11th Hour?
Graham Base.
Perfect. Wow, you have the book right there.
Graham Base.
I believe, I'm sorry if I pronounced wrong, Graham Bell.
Can you say it one more time?
Graham Bell.
Just a little bit off on that one. What other YouTubers helped hide codes in their videos?
So Slew with his collaboration with Doak and Jazza.
So Jazza was one.
Slew, Doak. They did a collab. I think that's it.
So that was Jazza, and then I believe that was Slew.
That is correct. Okay, you're doing awesome.
Okay, so far, Belganath has one wrong answer, Junivo has two, but the duo of Hamburger and Dwarfer haven't missed a single question. Okay, let's jump forward to the 13-minute mark for the final competition segment.
Where was the cryptex buried?
You gave via Cardinal Video Twitter's account a series of tweets with coordinates leading to the cryptex to go to the, I think, beneath Branch in Michigan.
It was buried in Branch, Michigan. Not this one, but one like it.
You have like literally all the props from the whole game on hand.
Not obsessive at all.
I believe it was in a township called Branch, or Branch Township, if that was what you're looking for.
I was looking for the town name, which is Branch, Michigan, so that's correct. What was the code to open the cryptex?
Knock.
Knock, knock. This one, actually.
Okay, I'll take the one.
I'm not sure. I would have to guess maybe knock. I don't think it was.
You guessed correctly. That's correct. Nice job. He shoots, he scores. That was sick. Last question. What information can be inferred by the names and weights of the characters alone? 30 seconds. Do you have an answer?
No, I don't.
10 seconds left.
This one's a hard one. Maybe their innocence? I'm not sure.
Okay. Not the answer we were looking for.
The names in reverse order spell Grail leads to treacherous plan, and the weights, if you add up all the digits, spell newt and rabbit.
What's the names in reverse say?
A desire.
A desire of the Grail.
A desire of the Grail
leads to treacherous plan.
leads to treacherous plan.
Okay, correct.
All right, the competition is complete and it's time to declare the winner. But there's one more twist I wanted to introduce in the endgame, and it all comes down to one simple question.
All right, I brought you here to let you know you have watched all the videos, you've cracked the codes, you've solved the clues, you've been incredibly clever, and you have gotten the most points, and you have won the Last Supper. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
How you feeling right now?
Relieved?
That's insane.
But I do have one more question for you. One more wrench to throw into the situation. And here's my question. Would you rather have the original painting, or would you rather have 5,000 US dollars and one copy of the actual size print for each of you? As you can see, it's quite large.
Somehow it looks bigger than the original.
So that's the question.
What a decision.
It's a big decision.
It is.
I mean, it is difficult to split a 6-foot painting.
It is. You have to saw it in half. How are we going to split it between the two of us?
Exactly.
What would we do?
Cash and prints or the original art? That's the question.
Oh, he wants an answer right now then.
Yeah, I would. I mean, we're making a YouTube video here.
We both said, didn't we, that we kind of felt bad taking it because you spent
Yeah, you
so
want
long
it so
working
much,
on it,
yeah.
to be honest. I think we probably both think that you deserve to keep it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is easy to split cash, of course. And the prints are going to be amazing.
I'm about to go on holiday to Japan in like a month, so that money works for me.
Me too. Me too.
So you guys are officially taking the $5,000 and the 2 actual size prints?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you guys have done like such an incredible job. You won the grand prize by a margin of 3 answers.
Wow.
The other 2 people tied for second place, and they're each gonna get a 24-inch version of the print because they're freaking awesome and smart. But you guys are the big winners, so congratulations.
So I want to say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for making the game.
Yeah.
And all the art that you make as well.
What a year of my life. I'm gonna feel bored not having codes to crack all the time.
Wow. And with that, the Last Supper ARG was finished. That was quite the journey. If you're still here, if you're still watching this, thank you so much for watching this video. This is the longest video that's ever been on my channel. It took us a long time to put this together. I hope you enjoyed. We have jigsaw puzzles of the Last Supper. It's random cut pieces, it's double-sided, it's got a satin finish on there. There's a custom printed bag that the puzzle pieces come in. There's a miniature version of this mystery inside the box. It comes with all the character cards you saw in this video. It's a really cool puzzle. That's available on 1000art.com. Also, I have Giclée prints of this thing. This is the 36-inch version. We have a smaller 24-inch version available too. These are all gonna be signed by me. Archival inks on museum quality paper, ultra high quality Giclée prints. That's available on 10hun.com too. I wanna say a huge thank you to my patrons. Your support means the world to me. If you guys want private access to my Discord server, a bunch of behind the scenes stuff, early access to videos, your name in the credits, that's all over on my Patreon. Thank you, patrons. I really appreciate your support. Putting this whole series together was crazy. The Last Supper painting itself was probably one of the most complex and ambitious pieces of art I've ever made in my art career. And then when you add on top of that designing, building, and implementing each step of this game into these videos, it just became a monumental project. Making a regular YouTube video is hard enough without having to meticulously inspect every single shot to make sure that you did your code just right,
or you didn't make a mistake, or there wasn't some unintended detail in there that would lead the detectives astray. But it was also just like a ton of fun. I think both Nick and I had like just an amazing experience coming up with this whole thing. And I had an incredible experience lurking in the Discord and lurking on the Reddit and watching these detectives struggle to figure out these puzzles and also come up with some crazy theories that I never intended. There was even some happy accidents in there that just worked so well, but we didn't intend to do them. And I was just like, yeah, we meant to do that the whole time. Yeah. But this has been The Last Supper ARG, fully explained, all secrets revealed. Thank you guys so much for watching. This video was a behemoth. I'm 1000. This was fun. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Get yourself a puzzle. Peace out.